Hey, folks. Hey. Oh, look, y'all got the chat already cranking. Hey, guys. Why is this thing not working right? Oh, Lord. All right, I'm trying to get my live chat right. So I'm trying to use some different equipment, and it's not doing what I needed to do. I'm just guessing that's the live one. All right, I'm going to hope I have this thing set up live. Live chat. Hold on, give me 1 second. This ain't working right. All right, here we go. Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me? All right, let me see real quick. Great way to end my thing. Airplane Foolery. Anyway, just trying to read these comments we got real quick. Look, I kind of changed my house around a little bit, but the setup is a little bit different. So bear with me. Okay, you can't see Hunter. I was on time. It's 9 o'clock. Thank you very much. All right. Okay, y'all can hear me. Perfect. Anyway, how's everybody? We'll wait till about, let's say about 9:05, then we'll kind of get started. I don't think we've done a live in like 2 months, maybe. Look, life has been happening. That's all I got to say. All right. Anyway, let me get my hellos in. Oh, God, I don't like how this thing is set up, man. I feel like my camera's. Let me turn my little laptop here so I can face. We're gonna get this right. I just gotta. Okay. All right. I like this more. All right. Hey, what's up? iHopsin 450, cartoon lover. That's my road dog. Cartoon lover be on all the lives. I appreciate it. Esmont, slow music, avocado queen, piano kid, Byron Alexander. It's kind of funny because I'm starting to recognize you guys by your Instagram handles. Nathan Moore, what's up? Hey, Dina. Trisha Harris. Somebody said it. You said you had to wait 30 seconds. Whatever. It was 9 o'clock. I barely made it too. The equipment was not trying to work today. Man, I don't know what was going on with the mic. Did not want to sync with the laptop. We were this close to using the built-in mic, so then it was gonna sound terrible. So I'm glad we were able to get it fixed. I was back here cussing. If y'all only knew the behind the scenes before we started. All right, what's up, Jalil? Lindsay. By the way, Lindsay just has another EP out. I think it's called Hopeless Romantic Part 2. Put it in the chat, Lindsay. I want to make sure I get it right. Also, I know you guys keep asking, where's the next shout out? Where's it at? It's filmed. I just got to edit it. That's all. I got like a rush of people that started sending in like last minute ones. So I was like, damn, let me just go ahead and redo the whole thing. So don't worry, it's coming. I'm trying to do that, and I'm trying to finish like 3 other project documentary type videos. So it's been kind of kicking my behind to get all of them done. I hate giving excuses, but it is what it is. Lighting change. Well, the lighting, yeah, I got a different lamp over here. This whole area used to be set up a little bit different. Like this whole desk was further over, and there was another desk here that had a different lamp on it. But I got like a different entertainment set because my TV and stuff is over here, and I got rid of the table that was here and just put like a standing lamp. So I don't know if we're too bright in here or not. Let's see. We can, see if we decide to do late night, we can change the lighting in here. Or I'll keep it how it is. But anyway, all right. Thank you, Ambria. So excited to support Black people tonight. Listen, I'm happy to support Black people too. Hey, what's up, DeAndre? Cordell Paula. If I'm skipping you, please forgive me. I'm just trying to zoom down. It's nothing personal. Please don't take it. Dana said that's the best light. All right. Okay, so let me go ahead and what time did I say? Oh, I got 2 more minutes. All right, we can still chop it up for a few more minutes. What's up, Marlon Harrison? Somebody say Quiet Storm, Don Worthy. What's up? So this will be like this live. We're gonna talk about some stuff, but I think this is gonna be somewhat of a subtle one, just because it's the summer, man. I'm in a good mood. I'm trying to keep my energy high. We're still gonna talk about some heavy stuff, but I've noticed that. I think in the last year and a half, and I have nothing against it. I'm actually fine talking about the heavier subjects, but I do realize that I think sometimes the content can be so heavy. Sometimes I feel like for some people, it's almost traumatic just to come to my channel because you know you're going to hear about something terrible that happened. So I'm trying to balance it out a little bit more. We'll still have those conversations because a lot of them need to be had. We'll still have those dialects or that discourse and those conversations, but I just want to kind of mix it up a little bit. You know what I mean? All right, we got 1 more minute before I start. Peace from Miami. All right. Let's see. Baby Gang. Tyler Hackney. I don't have my glasses today. This is about to be wild. All right. Matthew Harden. I think I shouted out. Jessica J. Annie D said, I'm a 66-year-old boomer. I'm a huge fan. Love you, Calvin. Thank you. You know, a lot of the people who are subscribed, most of my subscribers are older than the age of like 25, which is fine with me. It's one of the reasons why I stopped using so much profanity, because I didn't realize I had so many people that were much older. Like there's people that are in the 70s and 80s watching, and I was like, dang, let me cut back on the F words on this channel, because y'all know if you used to follow this channel back in the day, you get the words out. All right. Shout out to, what is that, Fontana, California. Good evening, Annie. All right, so let's go ahead and start, guys. People will flock on as they come on. So let me start lighter. So I know I talked about it in, I think it was the last In the News or the one before that. But I don't know. Have you guys watched this show we talked about, the BET Encore Presents? It's funny because I feel like everything I said in that video rang true, but the show is so entertaining. Like I really enjoy the show. This is the show with all of the ex-members from the different groups plus Nivea that decided to make like a super group. So it was the two twins from Cherish, the two sisters from 702. Who am I skipping? Aubrey from Danity Kane, Total from Pam, Nivea, Shamari from Black. I'm skipping somebody. Who am I skipping? Folks? Keely from 3LW. So, and mind you, I didn't even know what was on. Like normally Wednesdays is, I normally have meetings at 9 o'clock on Wednesdays, so I didn't even know what was on, and so I had to catch the rerun. But that had to be the funniest show I've watched in a really long time. I don't even like reality TV like that, because I always say it's not as enjoyable anymore, because, you know, it's cool to watch people fight, but sometimes it's so staged, and after a while it gets old. But I think because they're working towards something, it makes it entertaining. And so everything I said in the video really like clicked in, where I said, this is going to be chaotic because there's 9 different creative personalities in the same space, which it makes it so hilarious. I died watching that. I don't remember something being that funny. And I don't know if maybe because I'm just into music and I do my own music, so I could relate to some of that. But there were some moments in there, like the part that got me, I felt bad when they brought the choreographer out. I was like, man, so they bring this like young choreographer out, and she's doing all the little wow, and I felt so bad because I kept looking at the two sisters from Total. I'm like, why y'all gonna set them up like that? You gonna get this young choreographer that has these poor girls way down here, down low. I was like, you set these poor girls up. I felt so bad. The show we're talking about is BET Presents the Encore. It just started, so I suggest y'all start watching it on Wednesdays, because I feel like I'm gonna talk about it a little bit more, just because I've been thoroughly entertained by it. But that, and then I'll say BET, y'all got it right with this one. I be cussing BET out all the time with what they put on, but I was like, okay, this shows, I'll take it. Now Pam, I ain't gonna lie. Pam is the one from Total, and I told you guys in the video what was gonna happen is the personalities were gonna be different. Some of them gonna want to go to bed, but Pam, you know, she's turned her life around, and so she's just in this space of tranquility and peace. And, you know, she just wants to talk about God. And so in every scene, every time something crazy went down, she came in there with some scripture. I was like, all right. I want to be like, Pam, you might want to just go on Sunday best. I don't know if this is going to be the fit for you, because these girls on this show about to drive you crazy. Between that and them two Cherish girls, I was like, dang, they are, I don't know. Cherish and them had me rolling too, because they had some shady, they didn't want to be on there with a bunch of older women. And then I think when they had to sing around the piano, that was funny too, because they talked all trash, and I thought they were about to give like some Whitney Houston vocals. They gave a little something, but you know, they were like zipping through them songs. And you know, I feel like there's this trick a lot of people who don't do a whole lot of singing do. You sing with the finger, because I was like, well, where are you going? Like I do this when I'm nervous, if I gotta sing and I'm really uncomfortable, I start moving with my hand too. So like they were singing, I think they were singing Angel of Mine. So they were like rushing through the song, you know, when I first saw you, I already knew there was something. I was like, y'all tried it with this inside of you. I was like, really? I was like, this finger doesn't mean anything. This is just optics, all right? Y'all ain't going nowhere with this. Anyway, but that was a funny show. So I suggest you guys check it out. I don't know. It was a funny watch. It brightened up my day when I watched it, because I was having a horrible day that day. But that is a hilarious show for some reason. It reminds me of like Making the Band, which I think I said that too in the last video. I was like, it's gonna kind of be like my void for Making the Band. So I still don't know where they're gonna go with music. I don't see how it works, but it's entertaining. Again, the show we're talking about is that BET Presents the Encore. And I feel like they should do a spinoff, but I want one with the guys. I want one with like some R&B group members. Like, I don't know, get some people from like Silk and Blackstreet and Drew Hill. Who else? maybe one of the Boys and Men folks. Like get all of them. That'd be a lot of fun. You know what I mean? Anyway, moving on. Let me read a few comments. I'm just trying to kill time a little bit before we go any further. Exactly. Kat BX said, yeah, Pam was all about church. Like, I mean, she kept bringing up scripture and all this. And I'm like, religiously, I just don't think the music industry and church even go together, to be honest. So I was like, I don't know why she kept bringing God and everything. I was like, it's cool. I guess they were praying. Go on, Pam. Go ahead. Like, yeah, go on and sign up for Sunday Best. Just go on Sunday Best, please. But that's all right. Let's see. Somebody said 98 degrees. We need an Aubrey day in there. I was side-eyeing when they put her in there, but it worked perfectly because remember I said her and that Keeley girl were going to start butting heads because Keeley is the one from 3LW. She was like, oh, you know, I'm going to be the creative director. I'm not even going to be in the group. And they all looking like, well, what creative directing you going to be doing? You done broke up 2 groups. But all right. Anyway, moving on. Nivea is funny too. I think she has the best personality on the show. She's funny to me. I rock with her. So yeah, that was a funny show. I enjoyed it. Man, I'm trying to keep the energy high before I get to the heavier stuff. You know, folks be trying to kill your joy sometimes. You know what's annoying? If you notice, like in the last few in the news videos, I try to open up with like lighter stuff and move into the heavy stuff. Folks always want to come in there and kill the joy. Somebody had left a comment like, because I think I was telling y'all the story about my trifling neighbors and how they were fighting that day. So I was giving y'all a heads up about if you heard a bunch of noise in the background. And so somebody left a comment like, you spend too much time talking about the neighbors. Just get straight to the work. And so I went back to look at the video. I was like, I talked about my neighbors for 1 minute and 30 seconds. Like, sir, don't come killing my joy. Like, we don't have to rush into the trauma. Damn. Like, God, just get straight to the work. You can just tell some people aren't likable just from the comments. Like, you just sound miserable. My God, loosen up some. Anyway, so when I was talking about this plane foolery, because you know that's my magic word, right? I've seen 2 clips, and you guys have seen them as well, with these people that are really low-key losing it on the planes, right? So we saw the one clip where there was the person trying to get into the cockpit, right? He had told everybody, actually, no, that's the second person, but he was trying to get into the cockpit. The flight attendant is like this black dude was the one who had to like bring him down and pin him down and hold him down. And then there was another clip where there was somebody else who, that person actually was a flight attendant, but just not on that specific flight. And they too were trying to actually get out of the door. They had made the announcement on the intercom, told everybody, get the little oxygen tanks, get ready. And he was going to try to open the door and jump out. Now, fortunately, the way that they reinforce these planes, you can't really open the planes anymore. That's mainly because of the D.B. Cooper guy. If you remember D.B. Cooper, that was back, I want to say 1980, where he had hijacked that. I don't know if it was Northwest Airlines, one of them airlines over in the Pacific Northwest, but had hijacked the plane. He had just already done like the robbery and everything, hijacked the plane, jumped out the plane. They never found him. They found a bunch of money that was, you know, watered down and warped on the beach years later, but nobody ever knows what happened to D.B. Cooper. So after that, that's when they started to have it set up where you couldn't open the doors on the planes, you know, while it was in flight. But I don't know, people are just crazy. I don't know if he was trying to kill himself or what, but my thing is like, if you, it was the 70s. Thanks, Don. My thing, I'm not one to try to talk about suicide and all that, but like, if you want to go and do whatever, why you got to bring everybody else into it? That's the only piece I don't understand. Just go ahead and jump off the ledge. No disrespect. Just go on and jump. You always bringing everybody into it. And then it's like, you know, like, why don't you go and do the parachute thing? You know, when the people go and jump out the plane, like, do the parachute thing. That gives you some time to think about it. Just in case you change your mind, you can pull the strap and fly back up and land safely. But I don't understand what's the obsession with. Everybody always wants to bring everybody into their foolery. Like, folks ain't got time for that. They done already paid too much for the flight. People don't want to be on the plane already. People on there got people with babies hollering and crying. And there's that person next to you that's coughing too much. And then here you go. You want to bring the whole plane down. You want to open the door and jump out. Like, kind of nonsense. Like, come on. That really get on my nerves. Just like, I don't know. People are weird. I'm trying to do a better job of reading the comments too. Let's see. What's up, Yimmy? Thank you, Kat. Calvin, don't explain it. It's your platform. I be trying to nicely tell people. Like, folks be trying to fry me up all the time. I'm like, y'all leave me alone. Let me be great. Yeah, I'm so tired, by the way. My schedule has just shifted because now we're in like summer mode. I had them kids all day. I have no energy, but we're going to keep it up. This is some good acting right here because the couch is looking real comfortable right now. Let me see here. Don't say that word. It will be demonetized. Look, you know, they demonetize all my stuff all the time. It don't matter. YouTube, I don't even do the YouTube for the money, to be honest, because they always flag all my stuff. And I don't even be saying that much. I feel like out of all the content creators that talk heavy stuff, I feel like my channel's pretty level. And I ain't never told y'all to go up and stab nobody or nothing, but they stay flagging me. It is what it is. All right. Anyway, let's see. Kemi Cool said, I've been your fan since 2013. Thank you. Let's see. Oh, and then I was reading Queen Latifah. Congrats to her. I know the BET Awards are coming up. I don't know who's performing. I do follow the BET Awards because it's one of the few award shows that still give some insight to Black performers. Y'all know my favorite award show is Soul Train Awards. That's the one where the real singers show up at. But Queen Latifah is getting the Lifetime Achievement Award. It is well-deserved, and I am 100% for that. She definitely, I mean, what doesn't she do? You know what I mean? The Equalizer is a good show, too, the one that's on CBS. I've been trying to watch it, but I always keep missing it. So I got like 6 episodes backlogged in my DVR. At some point, I'll get to it. But so good for her. Let me see, what else did I write? And then I saw Cater to You was trending. I had to figure out what that, I didn't think it was the Destiny Child song, but it really was. So apparently people are feeling some kind of way about Cater to You. I guess they don't like the lyrics because they feel like it's, I don't know. I was seeing all kind of think pieces. I don't know if that's a generational thing, but I think folks are doing too much. First of all, if you listen to the lyrics of the song, it says, because baby, this is your day. Meaning that all the stuff Beyonce and crew said that they were going to do for their man is for that day. All right. That was like the special moment where she's like, you know, I just rock with you. So I'm going to cook for you. I'm going to have the tub ready. I'm going to do all these things for you. They said, this is your day. I guarantee you this wasn't going to be no everyday thing because they probably don't have an attitude the next day because it's detangle day the next day. So you better stay out of her way. So I don't know why folks were doing the most, but no, Cater to You's not going nowhere. I think that's a great song, even with the melody. I personally think that's one of their best singles. And it was always fun watching the BET Awards performance of that back in like 05. But no, people do the most. I was like, what are y'all talking about? Listen, if it ain't from your era, just be quiet. Y'all got enough stuff that's coming out in 2020 that y'all or 2021. Don't worry about Cater to You. Here y'all go. If we start canceling songs based on the lyrics, we ain't gonna have nothing. But no, Cater to You, that was a gem. You know what's funny? I used to always tell this joke, but the thing with Cater to You that used to crack me up. So back when I was in like middle school, we used to have this joke where we used to always say that like Beyonce had the other girls in the group like in a dungeon, like they used to be locked away. And I only said that because I remember I watched MTV Cribs and Michelle didn't have a room in the house. I was like, where's Michelle's room? Because it was like Solange had a room, Kelly had a room, Beyonce had a room, Michelle didn't have one. I was like, wait a minute, how come Michelle don't got a room? And I was like, I guess she sleep on the couch or something. I don't know. Side note, Michelle's my favorite member of the group, so don't y'all think I'm bashing her. She's my favorite. But anyway, and so I remember the Cater to You video. What always cracked me up was like, you know, they're in this like hot desert. It's hot, you know, you got Beyonce at the pool all oiled up in a little bikini and everything. And then you got Kelly, who got like the oiled up legs, but they got her laying on that hot car. It's like 100 degrees outside. And you know that car is hot. Like I'm just looking at her. I'm like, that's why she was singing the song so fast. The legs was burning, just sizzling. Baby, I'm happy. I don't know what your mom said. I'm not going to stress away from you. Like, because I was like, why y'all got her laying on the hot car, but Beyonce get to be in the pool? And then they have Michelle out in the dark with them fluorescent lights. I'm just thinking of all the mosquitoes and stuff that's coming out, coyotes. I'm like, y'all set these girls up like that. But no, Cater to You is a dope song. I'm trying to kill a little bit more time before I really start firing up some people because, you know, we got some foolery to cover. But yeah, folks are doing too much. I'm like, y'all cancel all the wrong stuff. Like, my God. Anyway, I say, listen, let people do what they do in their relationships. I don't know what kind of relationships some of y'all are in where you get pissed off because somebody want to cater to you. Like, damn. Can't even get like, geez, they said, this is your day. This ain't going to be no every day. You think she about to sit here and cook every day? Absolutely not. Somebody did have a funny line where they talk about, well, no dude is going to let them brush their hair because, you know, guys, we're real sensitive about our wavelength hair, but clearly I don't have waves right now. So I haven't had waves since like 2012 or 13. I don't know. I want to chop this off soon, but we'll see. It's funny though. Folks always discover stuff and they want to ruin it for everybody else. Worry about them TikTok dances y'all got that are 15 seconds long. I don't know what y'all do at the club now. Like the song come on, you only got a step to do for the first 15 seconds and then you just stand there looking around. Anyway, yeah, thank you. Who said that? Somebody said Abby Wise 32. Exactly. Special occasion song. Let people have the special occasion. All right. Jeez, some toxic relationships y'all in. Y'all don't even want the people to get a meal. Dang. She said, you blow me away. So I got your slippers in there. Here you go. Happy day for you. And then do the same vice versa. Anyway, what else did I read about? Let's see here. Oh, yeah. I was reading about this Sony deal that they recently have where they're pretty much forgiving some of the contracts of any artist that was signed before the year 2000. One of the things that happens in the music industry is most artists, if they're not extremely successful, go broke right off the bat. Not because they have horrible spending habits, not because, you know, they bought the mom and the dad a house and they're living beyond their means. A lot of times they go broke because they never made any money off their album to begin with. And as a matter of fact, a lot of artists actually finish in debt owing money to the label by the time the project is finished. And that's because if you're on a major label, and this is the old structure, it's kind of changed a little bit because now you have streaming that has taken place. You now have like the 360 deal, so things have kind of shifted where labels find other ways to recoup their money. And a lot of artists are now getting opportunities to bring in more money. I always say it's in poor taste to make fun of a lot of the artists from the past that went broke. You know, I always feel some kind of way when people fry up like a Tony Braxton or a TLC, because I'm like, you know, the lessons that were learned from their experiences taught future acts what to expect and what to look out for in the industry. When people would call somebody like Prince difficult, it's interesting now because the very things that he was once fighting for are now the things all artists want. When you have the conversations of getting your masters or your publishing, you see kind of what's happening with Anita Baker. But going back to my point, within the music industry, like let's just say I was signed to a major label and let's say it's 1995. The way that this is going to work, they're going to give me the signing bonus. Now, I'm a nobody right now. So, well, maybe I got a little YouTube presence, so they might give me a little something. So let's say they give me a signing bonus of, I don't know, about $100,000. This is the advance I'm getting. Not even a bonus. I mean, the advance. The advance is money you're still going to pay back. So a lot of artists already assume that this is the money to live it up with, and this is when they go and buy a car or something. But you get the advance. That's going to come back out of the royalties when it comes from album sales and anything else. You're going to have to pay that back. You got to pay for studio time. So most average new artists that are not being pushed as the next big thing, what I mean is when a label signs somebody, they kind of have two goals. Either they're going to really push them to the forefront and try to make them the next big thing, or they're going to just put them out there to kind of see how they go because they're unsure. If you're that artist that is like the unsure, they don't know what to do with you, they're going to probably spend about $300,000 to produce your album, if that. That's going to cover the production cost. That's going to cover distribution, manufacturing, engineering, the song, all of that. That's pretty much covered. Again, that's all like a loan. You got to pay that back too. That's going to come back from the album sales that come in. And then from there, if you decide, or if you're lucky enough to get a music video, the music video is paid up front by the label, right? Music videos paid for, dancers, all of that. You still have to do your radio promo packet. What happens is every major artist that releases a song on the radio, they have what you call like this promo packet. In that packet, it's usually the single, maybe a remix, maybe an instrumental, information about the artist, a B-side, and maybe a remix. And those alone, if you want a real kind of radio press kit that's sent out, that's about $150,000 for like a major artist. So when you see these big artists like a Cardi B or a Bruno, or I'm naming all the wrong people right now, but you know, all of the big names that are out right now, when they get these songs that automatically on like national radio and on all the playlists the week that they come out, that's because there's already been the big package deal that they paid for to send out there. That has to get recouped as well. Then you also have what you call the conversation with how the money is broken down when you actually start selling records. Now, in the past, when people were still selling CDs, you know, it'll be broken down to a certain extent. So let's just say CDs were about $15 at one point in time. Artists were never getting more than $1 on that out of that $15. And most of the time it was under $1. It was more about usually about 70, 80 cents. Some people got lowballed, got like 50 cents. And then think about what it's like if you're in a group and you have to split it as well. So then again, all the rest of the money is going to all of these different departments and labels and A&R and all this other stuff, and the marketing division and the promo team and the this and the that and the lawyers and so on and so forth. And so by the time an artist sells 1 million copies of an album or 500,000 copies of an album, yeah, the album made money, but they didn't break even. And now the artist owes the label. And so this is what was happening with a lot of the artists. And this is not just Sony. You see this on all of the record labels that were major back in the day. So there were so many artists that would sell 1 million or 2 copies and go broke because they never made any money from what was there. Like I think we talked about even in the Toni Braxton book, how Toni Braxton went broke the first time had nothing to do with how she spent money, but it was because she ended up on a tour. LaFace wasn't trying to sponsor and help pay for the tour that she was on. She did a joint tour with Kenny G. I was about to say Kenny Lattimore, but she did a joint tour with Kenny G that she didn't want to go on. There was kind of like some communication, and they had already locked her in on the tour. Even though she was planning to do something separate, she wanted to pull out. He said, I'm going to sue. So she said, okay, I'm just playing. We're going to tour together. And of course, Kenny G has his elaborate jazz ensemble. So Toni wants to match that too. And so now you have this elaborate band and the dancers, and Toni had to pay for all of that out of pocket up front. And so and touring is where you normally make your money. if you have sponsors, if you have a lot of sponsors, if you have a lot of buy-in and you have a really good relationship with all the different promoters, you can make a lot of money off of a tour. Like most artists, if you have a really good deal or a really good manager, you can go and perform at Madison Square Garden and only 10 people show up, but you're still getting a big major check because they already gave you the advance for the show. And whatever happens with the ticket sales is a conversation of what the promoters get. You've already gotten your cut if you know what you're doing. And so sadly with Toni Braxton, she had to keep cutting the tour smaller as far as her entourage. So she had to get rid of dancers, get rid of some band members. You start wearing some of the same outfits because, again, she's paying for the tour out of pocket. On top of the fact that because she didn't write most of her songs, up at that point in time, she only got like $4,000 in royalties when it was all said and done. And so she owed $3.2 million to the label by 1997, 98. And so that story is like what you see with a lot of artists. And so what sucks is a lot of artists that came out of those earlier eras, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, some of them signed some of the worst contracts you can think of. Thank you, Esther. Especially artists that came out before the 90s and artists that were before the MTV era of the 80s and onward. They got a lot of really crappy deals where a lot of times the conversations of contracts wasn't a thing. People used to think you just would sing and here's your money. And so a lot of people got some really crappy deals. They don't own their publishing. They don't own their songs. Their songs are used in all kind of commercials and everything, and they're not seeing a penny from it. So I think this is a dope. Actually, I don't even think it's dope. I think it's really what's old, kind of, because the other thing is now that this debt is forgiven, that means these artists can now make money from their music as far as whatever the contract had in relation to royalties. So now with like something like streaming, and I think what's been cool with streaming, especially in this world of TikTok, is like the Gen Z kids. I keep calling them kids. A lot of them are like 24 and 25 now, but you know, you keep seeing that generation discover songs all the time, and then they go viral, and then you got like 2 million kids making some kind of TikTok dance to that song, and they also go and stream that song, and it brings in all this new revenue. And so boom, that artist has all this new money coming in. So that's a good thing, because now that the debt has been paid to Sony or whoever, or it's been pretty much canceled out, some of these artists can now make money. Like, it's sad when you see so many artists that were so huge back in the day and they're struggling in 2021. You know what I mean? I always hate to see those stories. Or you always see the situations where there may be an artist that was really popular back in the day. Maybe they're sick and there's a GoFundMe for them. Like, stuff like that hurts my heart. Like, the industry is one cold place. This is why I respect independent artists. Like, in the world of being an indie artist, you pay for everything up front, out of pocket. So yeah, you got to foot the bill, but you don't owe anybody anything afterwards. But what sucks at the same time, you don't have the budget to do a lot of, you know, what a major artist can do. So really, you're kind of at the threshold of deciding, do you want to be this really, really big star that everybody knows and, you know, you get access to everything? And there's a strong possibility that you probably aren't going to make a lot of money in the beginning unless you have sustainability and can build your brand. Or do you want to go the independent route and pay everything up front? You probably aren't going to be super rich. You probably won't be a household name, but you will still get to live a pretty decent lifestyle, and you won't have to, you know, be in debt millions of dollars to the label. And you also have artistic freedom to do whatever you want. You know, because that's another conversation. Think about all the artists who were on a major label. They knew who they were as an artist, but the label said, no, we want you to do this instead. They tried what the label said, try, but then it didn't do well. And then the label dropped them like, oh, well, we're going to go ahead and let you go. We moved in a new direction. Like, man, music industry is one little fickle business. I tell you that. All right, let me check some comments here, and then we're going to move on. I think that's my last little semi-happy story. And then we got to sit here and cut some people out for a little bit of time. All right. Hey, not too much on Michelle. Leave Michelle out of this. All right. She said manicure, not pedicure. I don't even remember what line that is in the song. By the way, y'all know I'm terrible with lyrics, so I be messing up everybody's song all the time. Told you, even with me being like a big fan of certain artists, I'd be in a concert just singing everything wrong, be embarrassing myself. What's up? Hey, what's up, Jannard? Check out his podcast as well, Jannard Kenneth. He has a great podcast as well. He talks a lot of music, and he's an artist as well. I feel like my channel is starting to be like the hub for all like the indie artists. We all just kind of indirectly know each other. Why did Sony decide to release these artists? I don't know what Sony's doing right now. I think because they make so much money from everything else. I don't know. Maybe that's why they decided to forgive some of that. And I think a lot of it too, I think there's been so many lawsuits. They're like, you know, we tired. Let's just go ahead and free some of these people. Let these people have their moment. All right. So scrolling. Thank you, Lil Live 3D. Yeah, TLC got 56 cents for each album and then had to split it 3 ways. And then you still got to pay taxes on it. Like, man, that was a good behind the music that time. We left. I was like, you know, everybody get your pencils and paper. Get ready to do your math. Somebody said, I wish more new artists learned about Master P. That was Sochi 314. Yeah, Master P was brilliant with how he approached things. Like, he knew what was up. Like, I think what affects a lot of artists is, I'll speak for myself because I'm not very business savvy. I'm not even going to lie. But I think because so many artists are just really about the art and not the business, a lot of folks get burned. You get your feelings hurt. You get scarred from the industry because a lot of people really just want to do what makes them feel good and put it out. And so sometimes the marketing and the promo and all that, that's not their cup of tea. You really have to hire a team to really help you do that. But you need a team that believes in you and believes in what it is that you can do. You know what I mean? Because I'm telling you, that last project I did, just paying for that music video alone, I was cussing every day. Like, I got to pay what? It's like, damn. And then I'll be honest, I didn't even like the music video after all that. But I was like, we're going to still put it out. It's like, man, you got to pay the dancers. And mind you, I choreographed it, so that saved a little bit of money. But dang, it's like, I was like very about my business. Like, I paid the dancers for both rehearsals and the actual shoot. And so you had that going on, but there was some issues with the scheduling and the location. And I don't even want to talk about it. I can't wait to do a different video so I can erase that one. Anyway, let me see where we at. Oh, Dickerson, I'm so glad you asked that. So guys, mark your calendars for those who want to hang at my Zoom party, because I'm trying to do a little bit more interactive stuff this summer. Mark your calendars for June 24th. That's going to be our Zoom party. I'm going to write it down right now. So yeah, for those of you who just want to chop it up, talk music and all that other stuff, jam session, talk about whatever, June 24th, 9 p.m., we'll do a Zoom party. Now, don't come on there acting crazy, because y'all know I'll go right to bed. It's all right. So come correct. That's all I'm saying. And everybody, I want whoever's on there, respect whoever's on there. I don't care if you disagree with how they see the world or how they look or who they are. We ain't doing that. On this channel, I support everybody who supports me. So don't come on there with no foolery. All right? Anyway, June 24th, 9 p.m. Okay. I did talk about Encore. I didn't talk about Versus. Eve and Trina, I don't know if that's a good matchup. I like both, but I don't know if I want those two together. But you know, we'll see. I'll post the link the same way that I post these lives. I'll put it in the YouTube community page. So the link can be out in a little bit. I gotta update my Zoom page so we can be on there for longer than 45 minutes. You know, Zoom took back that little multi time period option. It's back down to 45 minutes. So again, I will post the link, folks. Give me some days. All right. I did see that story, Glenn. 2 black students in West Point, Mississippi were named valedictorian and salutatorian this year. The parents of the two, I saw that. And then I saw that. They were saying you had the 2 black students that were like, you know, top of the class for the graduation. Other parents felt some kind of way, and they were like, oh no, there was some kind of discrepancy. And apparently there was some kind of loophole. So now they're making all of them share it. You see that happen all the time, where people feel that a certain student is not worthy enough to be the face of something because parents feel some kind of way that a black student or Native American student or some other student that ain't white, you know, done outperform their kids. And so now they're mad and they want to go and try to change things around. Always some foolery. It's like, whatever. This is why I'm telling you, like, every now and then I kind of get the urge to want to work in the school system, and then I change my mind. I'm like, I ain't doing that because they're going to fire me because I can see myself frying up everybody. I was like, maybe I can just be like the school counselor, like the guidance counselor, but that means I got to go back to school. But I was like, you know what? I realized I have a bigger outreach just doing this than I do working in the school. So, you know what? I'll keep working at my cute little center and doing the YouTube thing. But man, okay, moving on. I did want to spend some time talking about this 6-year-old that was shot by the man. If you saw, it was this black kid, 6 years old, who gets shot by this Asian man because he left the bike in the man's yard. And so the man initially went after him with a sledgehammer, but the boy got away. So then he shot through his own window at the boy and shot the boy in the arm. Right? 6 years old. 6 years old. When the man was arrested, the prosecution was requesting a $100,000 bond. Instead, they did $10K. So the man was able to get out for a $10,000 bond. Remember, you only got to pay 10% of that. So I think $1,000, he was already on the way home. Now, there was enough outrage where they had to go back and retract that. And now that man's back in jail. The first thing I do want to say is, first, let me start off with the judge. One, they got to get rid of the judge. Let me make sure I get this in. Now, this was in Michigan. The case, what's the little boy's name? Well, I don't need to say the boy's name. Let me find the guy that did the shooting. Ryan, oh Lord. Lee Junion, I think, Lee Junion, something like that. But anyway, this is in Michigan. But no, like I was saying, the judge, I think they did remove him from the bench. One, the fact that a man can shoot a 6-year-old child, like 6 years old is so young and so little and so small, they can barely spell, half the words in a sentence at that point in time. And they have such an innocence and they're just playing and living a life, and you shoot at a 6-year-old, that's attempted murder to me. And the fact that it was a $10,000 bond, it makes me question what other decisions that judges made in the past. So that judge, go ahead and recall him. He got to go. This is why I don't feel like talking politics tonight, but this is why I say, even though I have a lot of smoke for both parties, the Republicans are trash to me and the Democrats get on my nerves. I'll talk about Manchin and some of them other ones. And I'm like 2022 and 2020 or 2024 is going to be a mess. I'm going to tell you that right now. But one of the reasons I still am like, you got to pay attention to who's in these offices is because, again, one of the first things they do is they get to appoint judges. And that's not even just at the federal level, but also on the state level. Like when these judges get appointed, you got to make sure you got the right kind of people in there, because again, they get to make these long-term decisions. Whoever's at the head of the White House or whatever, they're just the face of who's going to catch all the smoke and all the blame. But you got a lot of people behind the scenes making some terrible choices purposely. You know what I mean? It goes back to our conversation about why I said that a lot of Black youth are seen as adults, not just adults, but violent adults, or adults that are dangerous, or adults that steal, or adults that are going to possibly commit something. This is why we're always getting shot all the time, because people always fear something, which is not fear. It's really just anti-Blackness and racism, and they latch onto the conversation of fear because, again, white people get the benefit of forgiveness. Black people don't. So if you can go ahead and latch onto the I was fearful for my life, I was afraid, there's some element of empathy that will jump out. Side note, this lightning outside is like, I'm like, I hope we still keep a signal tonight. But yeah, so that judge has to go. I'm sorry. And then again, it's just like, I wonder how many other times he's done something crazy as far as the guy that shot at the kid, because that doesn't sound like something that was isolated. It sounds like that's a behavioral pattern he already had to begin with. And so I'm just like, you know what? Here we go. And this is why, like, when they started doing the anti-Asian hate crime bill and everything, I was like, you know what? I'm happy they got what is theirs, but I'm not about to sit here and pretend that Black people all of a sudden are the aggressors in this conversation and that we're going out and attacking people. I'm not standing by that. I don't care how many random isolated incidents they try to post and put in the national news circuit. These kind of incidents right here are happening. And it's funny that CNN has yet to talk about this little boy getting shot, saying, I don't even think MSNBC has covered it. And so this is why I'm like, I'm not playing these games. I'm not. And no disrespect, but do I mean that? I guess I mean it. But the thing is, like, again, you're watching how this narrative is shifted. And I think because we've seen what's happened in the last 8 months in relation to the reaction to the election, white folks going and hopping over the Capitol and trying to kill up senators and stuff, they need to shift the energy to somebody else to make them look like the bad guy. So they're putting it on Black folks. And they're going to make everybody else seem like victims, which is why we're going to get into some other conversations. And again, like I say, I think every group should have some kind of protections against any kind of violence. However, you're not going to take an oppressed group and paint them out to be the oppressor to another group. We're not doing that. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry, but it is what it is. But just it is what it is. But I don't know. I kept my mouth shut on some of that because I was like, I'm not even about to engage in. Because some people were like, how come you didn't say anything about what's been happening as far as the attacks? And I was like, are we gonna do this? Because never mind. I don't feel like doing it. But you know where I stand on this. I think we talked about it in another live. It's like I don't want to see anybody ever be attacked for who they are or what they believe or how they see the world. However, it's just so funny that anytime whiteness is shown in a negative light, the first thing they do is jump back to anti-Blackness and repaint the picture. So we had 2020 where you had the year of police brutality and whiteness get challenged, and then all of a sudden everybody else is doing something crazy. This is when, even when you talk about the conversations of immigration, now they will go and find every story of the random guy at the border who stabbed and murdered somebody and paint community to be crazy, and they will latch on to some random Native American that committed a crime, and that's all over the news waves because now the Native Americans are losing. Like, they got everybody looking crazy except for white folks. And now it's to the point where even insurrection is now just a tour. It was just a tour, it's not even touring. It wasn't anything bad. Mike Pence had a death wish on him, and he's acting like nothing happened. Oh, we just disagreed. It was just the events. Everybody was just emotional. I'm not playing these games with these people. I don't have time. Like, everybody's so full of crap. Anyway, moving on, which leads to my next subject. Now, we've talked about this for like 4 videos, but the subject will just not go away. And this is, again, this conversation of critical race theory, which is so funny because it's not being taught in schools. It's not. Please raise your hand if you've ever gone to a school where they actually had real conversations about race. I mean, real ones. I'm not talking about Martin Luther King and I Had a Dream and Rosa Parks and we show Overcome and Kumbaya and Everybody Lived Happily Ever After. And maybe they show Long Walk Home or The Help. Ain't nobody doing any more than that. Now my mom was calling me. I'm gonna have to call her back. Nobody's doing any more than that. And so the state of Nevada, there is a group that wants teachers to actually wear body cameras so that they can ensure that the teachers are not teaching critical race theory in the classroom. And what's so funny is I'm like, can y'all explain what it is to me? That's what I'm waiting to hear. So is it just any conversation about race that does not paint white Americans in the positive light? Or is it like, I mean, where are we going with this? I need it to make sense. Because again, these are not conversations that are happening in the classroom, but I'm going to tell you what's really been happening. The reason why you're seeing so much fear is, one, when you talk about this up and coming generation of students, because the schools still have these very dated curriculums from 1980, 1990, maybe some might have some up to 2000. The curriculums are dated. And you're looking at 2021 problems. These kids are watching police get shot and killed unarmed. These kids are watching all kind of foolery happen. They want to have the conversations in the classroom. Half of these teachers do not have the range for the conversation because, one, a lot of them are white folks who are totally out of the loop and not in connection with any of these conversations. They don't know how to have the conversations. And this is why you're seeing clips of students go viral where they're confronting the teacher because the teacher's saying, oh, well, Mike Brown, he should have complied, or Freddie Gray had did this wrong. It wasn't that, or yes, the election was rigged and there was this widespread voter fraud. And I'm like, listen, nobody likes any of these politicians. Nobody's taking no federal felony charges trying to rig no election for no Joe Biden. Like, please. And so you're watching these teachers struggle in the classroom because they can't handle the range for the conversation. And then the parents, they don't want to have these conversations because it makes you have to face the reality of what is when you're talking about the racism that exists within the United States. They're trying to paint it to be something that was of the past and we're far beyond it. And it's not the case. You saw it in 2020 where you saw students walk out of class where they were doing marches and everything. This is right before COVID, kicked everybody in the behind and we all had to stay indoors. But you were watching students do massive walkouts. You're watching these kids make TikTok videos where they're going and delving into history and uprooting different conversations that have been taking place. And it's not just on the kids, but even people like regular everyday folks like us in these conversations, having them on these social media platforms, having them now in the news media, all kind of movements. Like, people are terrified. Why? Because you have an entire, I want to say 2 or 3 generations of people that have been well studied and have been paying attention to everything that's taking place. You have movements coming into fruition. You have something like reparations at this point has finally, it's always been a conversation, but look at how the energy around even a conversation of reparations has changed. When you would talk about reparations in the 90s, people would start laughing like, oh Lord, here comes Malcolm X, here come one of them folks. And it was even kind of like, there was even this essence where even with black folks would make fun of other black folks for having these conversations. And we were always, sometimes we would even silence each other like, don't come over here doing that stuff. Y'all need to shh. Y'all about to mess up what we done built for ourselves. And we ain't built nothing. And so now you're watching all of that shift. And a lot of folks are uncomfortable because it pretty much means that, yeah, folks gonna have to give up something in order for things to align. And folks aren't doing that because a lot of folks don't even have anything. Even after all of that oppression, after all of the laws that have been put into play, the black codes and the poll taxes and everything else they've done to try to make life harder for black folks, look at how many white people are poor in this country. And that's because they spend so much time worried about blackness. And in reality, you watch the elites and the super wealthy divide the working class, poor white Americans and black Americans and have them pretty much do this whole thing where we're going to fight about race. And so they dug themselves into a hole just to hold on to whiteness, and they got nothing out of it. Nothing. All they got is whiteness. That's it. And so now there's rage because now you're watching other groups who've just literally been just stumped out for years and years and years. You can stump us out all you want. Eventually, we figure out ways around the cracks. Black people are finding their way around these different little cracks here and there. They're getting into high spaces. Now there's a conversation about that as well. We've talked about black faces in high spaces where we talk about a lot of times you'll get a black person and put them out there and paint them out to be, the savior for black intelligence. And really they're a mouthpiece for white supremacy. You see that all the time. But again, you're seeing all of this rage and everything because now black folks are finding different ways to make things happen. Again, we know that black women are the most educated group in this country. Now, there are some, if you want to talk about specifics as far as who within that diaspora, who in that group is what, the conversation starts to shift, but still, it don't matter. The white folks, it means, okay, it's black folks, they're doing better than us in some instances. The wealth gap is still there. All the problems are still there, but you're watching folks find ways out of it and doing better for themselves. And so the only thing that other people can do is hold on to the old guard. Hold on to it as tight as they can because it worked 50 years ago. It ain't working the same way. All right, people, and as new generations continue to come up, they're going to continue to be a little bit more enlightened than the last generation because we're in the age of information. And so you can't keep people in this suppressed bubble of stupidity anymore, because the information is right there. And so people are finding their own ways to get into what it is that they're interested in, or what it is that they're passionate about, and they're finding ways to organize and fight and do whatever it is for whatever cause that they have. And so you have people literally holding on to the old guard by any means necessary, whether that means violence, whether that means going and trying to tear down the Capitol. I was like, half of them didn't even know what they were fighting for. They were fighting for Trump. And I'm like, okay, I guess, but if you're going to do that, what was the next move? Let's just say y'all were successful. All right, you went there, you shot up Nancy and crew, everybody dead. What was next? Who was going to do what? Because it was like they didn't even have the follow-up plan for what was going to be next. Half of them weren't even in the right page of what they wanted to do. They all were in a different space with what they were mad about. Some wanted to go kill people. Some wanted to go and change legislation. I'm like, well, what legislation do you want to change? Go ahead and tell us. What do you want to change here? Let us know, please. And they didn't even know what they want to do. They just were mad. So they all got on planes and flew out from Iowa and California. And you watched all these police and everybody else fly over there, do all that violence. And then the weirdest thing, and I'm speaking to somebody who lived in DC, watching all of these people who were just at the insurrection, then like go and drink Starbucks and have these little powwows and dinners and stuff. I was like, wait, so was that mission accomplished? Like, what happened? I'm lost. I'm not telling them how to do their own crime, but I'm like, y'all didn't do nothing. Y'all just made some noise. And then you had the most out of shape people leading the charge, trying to climb that wall and can't even get up it. Embarrassing. Anyway, so yeah, you're seeing people do everything they can to hold on to that old guard. And as history has pretty much been seam ripped, because, we're now going into the space where those old history books are dated. People are finding the truth out about different things. Remember the conversation we had even about states' rights, and how we were always taught that states' rights was, and I'm talking about the conversation of what led to the Civil War. We were taught one or two things. Hold on, let me get my sip. I'm over here talking too much. When it came to the Civil War, depending on where you lived, you were taught one of two things. One, the Civil War was about slavery and that's why they had to fight, or it was a conversation of states' rights. And the conversation was the North, they were the bullies of the South, and there was this big election, and the North had more electoral votes than the South, even though the states were evenly split up for who they voted for. And so because the North still won and Lincoln got in, the South was mad and said we were out. And it's like, oh no, if we're going to do that, then we need to go back and talk about a few different cases that took place. And we did it on, I don't remember which in the news, but I talked about some of the cases that took place, where you had the one case where there was the family that came from Virginia. Went to New York, and this is after New York had already abolished slavery, and they had changed some laws. At one point in time, they had a law where if you came to New York with your people that were enslaved, you could stay there up to 9 months, but after 9 months, they would be free. And then New York changed the laws a few years later, and it was like, okay, actually, no, if you come up to our state, there's not going to be any transit kind of law. It's automatically that they're free. So there was this family that was moving to Texas, but for some reason decided to go through New York and then ride the rivers down to Texas. Got to New York, and there was this coalition of like free Black Americans that had already been working to pay attention to which families were coming up to New York with people that were enslaved. They were able to get a court junction and stop the family from traveling to Texas with those that were enslaved. And they had 8 people that were enslaved. It was a whole lawsuit and everything, and they lost. Like the state of New York won. It was like, no, you cannot enslave these people anymore. And then what made it interesting is the state of New York said, how about we do this? You can't take them down with you, but we'll give you the value of what each and every one of those people that were enslaved are worth. And so they said, no, we're not doing that. Absolutely not. And so we're going to go to the Supreme Court about it, or we're going to go to the appeals court. They go to the appeals court. The appeals court was like, they said what they said. And now on top of that, you're not getting any money. No, we're not paying you for that. Because again, we don't do slavery in New York. And this is not a conversation about the North being the great place to go to, because it was still terrible up there too. Anti-Blackness didn't go anywhere just because slavery ended. And so it ends up being this whole entire hoopla. But then, so you have that happen. You have New Hampshire, where Black men were allowed to vote if they were free, which that enraged even more people in the South. It's like, these are 3/5 of a person. What you mean they get to make decisions that are going to affect how I live? Absolutely not. So you had that happen. And then in Philadelphia, there were some other laws as well that gave those that were enslaved some different rights. And so what happened was the conversation about states' rights was more so the fact that the South was pissed that the North decided to use their states' rights to make the choices that they wanted to make. The South was pissed off that the North would not enforce the rules that the South was trying to hold on to when they came into their state. It's kind of like, it's almost like if somebody comes into your house and tells you what to do in your house, and you're supposed to hold on to their rules. I don't know. I'm trying to think of an example. I don't know. Maybe you have some kids and one of their friends is spending the night at your house. And I guess at the friend's house, the friend is not allowed to sleep on pillows or something. They're not allowed to sleep in a bed. And so they come to your house and you're like, I'm not about to have nobody's child sleeping on no cold floor. So go ahead and lay in the bed. And then the parent come and cuss you out because you let the child sleep in the bed. you know, so they could be comfortable. Same kind of foolery, you know what I mean? And so you're seeing that happen. But again, going back to what I was saying, all of these conversations around history are starting to come out into the open. This is why something like the 1619 Project had so much smoke, because for the first time, you now have this team of scholars who have done the research, some serious research for years, and put everything out there in the forefront. And that wasn't even the full conversation. That was just a piece of it. And that had people shook. All right. And that's why you've seen all of these different laws come into play. And, oh, you can't teach anything around that or you're going to lose federal funding. The previous administration, they were pushing that as federal law as well, where they're saying no federal institution will be supporting that project or they will lose funding. And now you have to think a school like Howard University that's federally funded through the Freedmen's Bureau. I'm like, okay, well, what y'all going to be teaching in history if y'all can't teach the truth? You know what I mean? And so it's just like layer after layer after layer. And this is why there's so much fear, because, again, once that information is out there, you can't put it away. And it's out there. And so we've gone generation after generation after generation in this happy-go-lucky, you know, racism is so far in the past, we've moved on, all as well. This is why I was looking at Kamala Sideways, where she co-signed with Tim Scott with that foolery. I'm like, both of y'all can catch it because you both tried it. Y'all gonna sit up here and lie about that. But anyway, that's that. Let me read a few comments. Goodness, I got so much more to say on that, but I want to keep going. We'll be here all night. Man, but it's so funny that people are like losing their minds because they're not teaching this in any classrooms. This is not like, in order to, and remember we did a video about what you have to do in order to add something to a state curriculum. There's layers to this. So when we talk about like even McGraw-Hill, which is probably one of the larger vendors that, you know, sells history books to schools, we talked about like that 6-step process that exists in order to get a book. So let me see if I can find it in my phone really quick. Y'all know I still be having notes and stuff from videos I did months ago. Let me go to my screenshots here. Hopefully I still got it. I might have deleted it already. I'm still finishing my other video about how the Daughters of the Confederacy play a role as to why you have all these statues everywhere of Confederate soldiers and why it plays a role into how history about the South was taught. Thank you, Marlon. Oh, appreciate that. He said, my college professor always said, never teach from books, always teach from documents, newspapers, and novels. I'm starting to learn that as well, too. Like if you're going to teach from books or at least use books as a reference, you should always go and look at multiple sources as well. All right, so going back again, textbooks, how they're produced. I'm glad I found it in my phone. Step 1, authors, often academics, write a national version of each text. All right, so McGraw-Hill makes, History of America, 17 whenever to whenever, right? Step 2, publishers customize the books for states and large districts to meet local standards, often without input from the original authors. I want to pause on that. When they're talking about local standards, a lot of school districts pretty much elect a specific board. And this is at the state level, not the school district. They elect different boards that are going to say yes or no to what's going to be taught. And a lot of times the people who are on these boards, these are not scholars. These are not people who even pay any attention to history. A lot of times these are people who are sometimes elected or they're brought in because they're friends with somebody. They know somebody, they got a connection. Maybe they own the oil business in town, or maybe they own something, they carry some kind of weight. And then you have those people in the room that are going to have the conversation. So let's say that in the national book that they initially put out for step 1, they want to talk about, they decide to talk about Rosewood, all right? And they talk about the town of Florida that gets lynched and burned down and everything else like that. It goes to step 2 to that committee. That committee's going to say, oh, I don't think we want to talk about that. You know, it's a little spicy for the kids. So why don't we can still talk about Rosewood, but let's just talk about how it transitioned from, you know, this small town to a bustling suburb instead. Mind you, that's also, actually, I'll skip to that. I'm not even going to talk about it. But so they changed that, and all of a sudden they kind of water down. Then there's step 3. State or district textbook reviewers go over each book and ask publishers for further changes. So now again, after they've already sent the changes back, it goes back for a 3rd time. We're going to go back and look at this one more time. Oh, I don't like this word right here. White supremacy. We're going to take that word out. We're going to change that to just difference of opinion, bipartisanship, you know, all kind of word. Attack on religious freedoms. We're going to latch it on all, states' rights. Yeah, change all that around. So they start changing the words around and everything else and change the story. A lot of times it takes stories out. And then in step 4, publishers revise their books and sell them to the districts and schools. And this is why, depending on what state you live in, you all get a different history lesson about the same topic, if that topic is still in your history book. So like I said, most of us, especially if you went through, I guess, K through 12 up until about 2005, 2006, maybe even 2010, your history book, went from like slavery to Oprah if you were having any conversation about blackness and race. And, you know, they throw Michael Jackson in there or Beyonce or somebody. If you got one of the later books, they'll definitely end with Obama being elected and they lived happily ever after. And so they've just made strides. And it's always funny that they can squeeze all of that into 20 pages, but then the book be 400 pages about everything else, about how America was built. And mind you, the real conversation about how America was built is not even in the book. And this is why you got people running around thinking they're the greatest gift to man. And this is why these conversations like critical race theory have people shook. Stuff they ain't never heard before. It just goes over their head. I have some more notes in here, but I don't know if I want to save some of that for my little documentary I'm making. Let's see. Do I want to? Okay, I'm gonna stop it on there. But anyway, let me read a few comments. Exactly. Don't even know what they're voting for. That's a good one, Dana. States' rights is just an excuse to continue to be overly racist. This is exactly how Ronald Reagan launched his presidential campaign. You know, if you remember, there's a place called Philadelphia, Mississippi, which has a notorious history because there were 3 civil rights leaders that were pretty much killed, lynched there, right? And so you have Ronald Reagan go to that very same town and do this whole speech about bringing back states' rights. And it pretty much, for me, was like a signal. You know, they do a lot of signaling sometimes. When you have these people that are racist, they'll do the signaling where they won't say, you know, what terrible thing they endorse. They'll talk around it. People can catch the context clues. But yeah, he launched, go back and look at that speech. He launched his presidential campaign from Philadelphia, Mississippi, a town that was notorious at that moment in time for pretty much the brutal murder of 3 civil rights activists. And so, and there's meaning behind that, because of all places to go and launch a campaign, why? And then you do a whole speech about states' rights. And that's what you're seeing right now, even when you're talking about this voter disenfranchisement. We're now up to 381 different pieces of legislation that are supposed to suppress voters. And there's something in every state. When we first started these lives after the past election, it started at about 158. Now we're at 381. They still adding stuff. All right. And so this is where we are. Somebody said the devil can't stand to look at itself in the mirror. Glenn Gal said they only advocate for states' rights when it's convenient. Exactly. Back and forth, back and forth. Oh, this is good, Evans. I'm almost 50, and the same complaints young black people are vocal about is the same thing many of us were fighting for in the late 80s. We were shaking the table, walking out of class, the same thing. Like it's you're seeing the cycle. And that's because, again, as each generation continues to get more enlightened about whatever's happening, the legislation just gets a little bit more intense, more suppressive, more violent. You know, one of the worst things that happened to us as a country was stripping down the Voter Rights Act, like stripping down, I think it was Section 4 or Section 5 of that Voting Rights Act. And mainly when you go back and you look at Justice, which justice is it's not Thomas. I still want to fight him for aligning with that. But there's a certain justice. His reasoning was that racism was over and that the problems that existed no longer existed. So we didn't need it anymore. Roberts, that one there, Roberts, the main one, back in 2013, saying, yeah, everything is all fine and dandy now, so we don't need these restrictions. And so, and the purpose of that specific segment of that law was to highlight certain states where the rule was, before states could make some of these laws, they needed federal approval just because they had a history of suppressive tactics when it came to voters. These were a lot of states like Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, Texas, Georgia, pretty much a lot of the southern states. But that segment pretty much covered all the states. It was those states that influenced the legislation, but all the states were covered under it. And so now that that's gone, this is why you're seeing states just be able to do whatever they want, literally when it comes to voting, where now you can't even give people water. You're going to go to jail. So if your grandma's out there thirsty and she's been in Gwinnett County for 4 hours waiting in line, you know, it is what it is. You know, this is why, even if you look at the conversation around gerrymandering, somebody explain to me why North Carolina A&T sits in 2 districts as far as voting. Go back and look at the gerrymandered district of where North Carolina A&T stands. There's a reason they do that. You have the largest, or not, is that the largest? Yes, that's the largest public HBCU. You know, they have like 12 or 13,000 students. You know, imagine if they're all in the same district, what that does to a voting result. That's why they split that district into 2. That way you cut that impact in half. So these people know what they're doing. They think we're stupid, but it is what it is. Let's see, where are we at here? Sochi314 said, the great founder, George Washington, had no problem frequently switching out his slaves so they wouldn't be free. You know what was jacked up about Washington? I think the worst part is even when he died, he just passed the ones he owned off to the next family members. I'm like, that's some trifling stuff. He had promised some of the people they was going to be free. And it's like, oh, I know they was happy he died. And next thing you know, it's like, oh, no, you're just going to move to the next plantation. Kind of like, remember, I think we talked about the book, The Water Dancer. I don't want to spoil the whole book, but that kind of happens in that book as well, where the lead character thinks they're going to be free. And then when their owner dies, they just get shipped off to the brother. You know, they had the half brother that was, you know, white, because the father was white. Trifling. All right. Scrolling. Sorry if I'm missing your comments. Please don't take it personally. I'm just trying to get the thing going. Calvin, I've learned more about Black history from your channel than when I was in school. Keep up the good work, my brother. Thank you. But I also want you guys not to just only take my word for it. Like anything, even anything I put out there, I still want you to kind of go back and even just verify it, just to make sure I'm not just telling you some hot air. You know what I mean? Because there's another issue right now that I'm seeing where there's a lot of people out here spreading all kind of misinformation out there. I don't know if they're purposely doing it or if they really think they're helping, but there's a lot of people in the way right now putting out all kind of crazy sentiments and ideals, and people will latch onto it just because it's got some music in the background and some good pictures, and people be thinking that stuff is true. So please use your discernment. If something don't sound right, go back and fact check. All right. And if you can't find the origins of where they're talking about it, if the origins of what it is that they're talking about is only in some Instagram posts, you might want to go back and double check and make sure that there's accuracy in what's being said, because I'm seeing all kind of foolery being put out there. And my question for some of that is, I'm trying to figure out what the end goal is. It's funny that a lot of people who push themselves off as free thinkers usually tend to align with white nationalist viewpoints. That's what I don't ever get. All the ones who want to run on, I'm a free thinker, I don't just flow with the masses, I think. And every time you look at what they thinking about, it's something racist. I'm like, how the hell? Okay, it's all in the way. Anyway. Okay, I'm gonna scroll a little bit because I'm like way up in the comments from 30 minutes ago. I got to get back to the bottom. Yes, definitely search out what you hear. Oh, look at all the YouTube people knowing each other. All right, what's up, Christine? You and Lovely Coley, y'all chopping it up. I hope she's good. No, good for y'all. It's kind of cool because I feel like all you guys like indirectly know each other. All right, I'm gonna move on just because I don't want to drag this out. Oh, this is an interesting comment, Evans. A lot of the alumni of A&T are now upper middle class. Their attention is centered on their lives and making their lives better. They don't care about the poor or disenfranchised. I think in that conversation, that's not just an A&T thing. That's one of the flaws I think that exists within our collective. And I'll say this before I get into it. I'm going to say, one, the challenge we as Black people have to face is we have to operate as a collective whether we want to or not. Because even though we all have our own journeys, there's a system that attacks all of us in the same realm, and we're all under that same system. And so sadly, we don't get the luxury like other groups to just kind of do whatever they want. Other groups get to just be adults and live and do whatever they want. A lot of folks in the Black collective have to take care of the Black collective because nobody else is doing it for us. You know, again, going back to the anti-Asian hate crime bill, cool for them, but it's just interesting that, one, they didn't even ask for a bill. They weren't out there doing no protesting. And I mean, the bill was wrong. Here y'all go. Good, and I'm happy they got it. I'm so happy for them. But it's like, damn, man, we've been out here for like 400 years fighting and kicking trash cans out and everything. And we literally just gave y'all the election, handed it to you, handed it. Because if it was up to anybody else, Cuckoo Man was still going to be in there. I don't know what was going to happen, but it's like, wow. But again, so you see that we constantly have to fight for ourselves because nobody will ever do it for us. And like, what's interesting, I think, is, or at least what's sad, a lot of people feel that they can escape racism through wealth. And it doesn't work that way. You can have wealth, you can have money, it can make life easier, but that system doesn't change. The laws don't change. And this is why you see so many celebrities go off the deep and they get into some money and then they turn crazy and start saying all kind of out-of-pocket stuff. And then all of a sudden they got the answer to why the rest of us are poor, or why the rest of us don't have anything. It's just, you need to just change your mindset. Remember when Pharrell went on the whole spill about the new blacks? I'm like, you ain't have this new Black energy when you were still trying to get on in the music industry and you were, you know, sleeping on people's couches and stuff, you know. Then you get into some money. Now all of a sudden the rest of us just stupid. We just holding on to stuff. You know, new Blacks don't hold on to the problems of the past and use them as an excuse not to be great. We're not using them as an excuse to be great. We're just letting you know that these are the things we're having to deal with as we make our journey. Like anything I've wanted to do, I've been able to do. That's the one thing I'll make clear. Anything I've ever wanted to do, I've been able to do. However, there have been roadblocks, there have been obstacles, and so that's the conversation. Imagine what we as a collective could do if we didn't have to fight every roadblock along the way. So I think that even scares people. Like when you look at some of the Black folks who have been able to be extremely successful, I think that scares people because it's like, you weren't supposed to make it here. You weren't supposed to get there. How did you make it this far? You know what I mean? And so I think one of the issues that exists, though, is a lot of people in our collective get some money or get a nice career, and then they good. All right, I'm gonna go take care of my house. It's all about me and mine now. Y'all figure it out. And then sometimes they'll even vote against the interests of their own collective because they got it good now. So it is what it is. So sadly, there's people like that in the collective. But when you got 40 million people, everybody's not gonna be on the same page. So it sucks. But some people come around. And there is a conversation about elitism, sadly, in the collective. It's a thing that exists. It's a thing where this is why a lot of times, sadly, especially even in entertainment, we look down on like Black publications. But I'm just speaking in general. People look down on Black publications, Black outlets. Even when I think back to when I worked at the magazine. So I used to work at a magazine, a film resource magazine. And so I used to always go to New York for all the film festivals. So we go to, Urban World Film Festival, Tribeca, BFF. I'm skipping a few of them. But one of the things I would notice when I worked the red carpet, the way that the red carpet is set up, it's like, say over here is the entrance, or over here is the entrance to the red carpet, over here is the entrance to the venue where they're going to make the premiere. They line everybody up, right? They put all the major publications, I don't know, Vox and CNN or whoever, they're all up here, right? Then they have the more independent publications in the middle, right? And then they have the Black publications that ain't nobody ever heard about, all the ones that are trying to get on at the very, very end. And what tends to happen is a lot of celebrities never come on time to begin with. They want to make an entrance and get the best picture and get out. So a lot of the celebrities will come in, and sometimes they honestly would like to try to talk to everybody, but their handlers are like, no, we got to go, we got to go, we got to go. So they get here, they talk to the big wigs, they might talk to one of these independent ones, and they go straight past all the Black folks and go straight inside. Happens all the time. And so I remember the only person I will give a shout out to out of everybody, because I've done a few red carpets, the only person that was like really about their business was Nelson George. And I was at a red carpet premiere for when he did a ballerina tale. And so I was doing press, and literally I watched all of these people from different, because when you do the film festival, it's all kind of films and everything. I watched all kind of directors walk right past us, and not just our publication, but all the other ones as well too. And some of the more well-known publications, just walking past all of them, just, oh, not today, oh, next time, sorry. I told you, we did get an interview with Kevin Johnson, and then that fool gonna talk about hurry up. I was like, just for his 30 for 30 to not even there because he had a rape allegation like the next week. I was like, see what happened when you do folks dirty? But Nelson George actually like stopped and talked to our publication, and not just him, but literally everybody in that ballerina tale. So it was like Missy Copeland stopped and talked to us. There's this ballerina from like 1970. Her name is Raquel something. I can't think of her last name. Maybe actually the 60s. She stopped and talked to us for like 5-6 good minutes. This is an older Black woman at this point in her 70s or 80s. Like everybody on that team stopped and talked to us in the other publications. I was like, okay, I F with that. That's what I'm talking about. But no, you watch it. So it's just like there's some people who literally, if there's anything Black associated with it, they just dismiss it. It's kind of like when people call the BET Awards the EBT Awards. As much as I be fine at BET, I'm like, at the end of the day, I know they're white owned. It kills me. But it's kind of like at that point in time, other than like the Soul Train Awards, that's our largest outlet for an award show, because the Grammys don't care about us like that unless we're playing their games. AMAs and the Billboard Awards are based around charts. The Teen Choice Awards is not really for us. So it's kind of like, even if that award show could be better, why are you going to constantly attack the brand? This is why even in Hollywood, they always think Black films aren't worth the investment. This is why Black films don't open in the same amount of theaters as other ones. The average film opens in 3,000 screens. Black films tend to open in about 2,300. Even somebody like Tyler Perry, who I'm not the biggest fan of artistically, but you would think, seeing that he's one of the box office giants for Black film, whether you like his content or not, he can't even get 3,000 screens. Like, it's just layer after layer. So again, this is why I say, as a collective, Black people have to advocate for themselves as well. We're always tearing our own stuff down and everything else like that. Who else is going to fight for us? And this is not a conversation about how can we expect them to respect us if we don't respect ourselves. That is not the conversation we're having here. Totally different context, totally different conversation. All right. Anyway, moving on. Let's see. I got to read some comments. I be going so far off my notes. This is why these lives be so long. Christine, yes, we did talk about the guy who shot the 6-year-old. Karen Sherman said, "Nah, Steve Harvey said we're lazy if we sleep until 9. No, he didn't even say 9. He said 8 o'clock. And that's for you people in LA. What you doing sleeping at 8 a.m. for when Wall Street is open on the East Coast? They already making decisions for you. Like, dang, we got to get up at 5 in the morning and we don't even have anything in the stock market. Okay, and I'm not talking about 401k. I'm talking real money. I'm talking like 6 figures and high 6 figures. You know, people that got 300,000 and 400,000 in the stock market and we getting cussed out. The nerve." Scorpius Jones said I should make a Patreon. See, the reason I do want to make a Patreon just to have a second outlet just in case YouTube decides to get rid of me, but I don't want to charge people because I'm not consistent enough. Like, because I work on so many projects, you guys know, like, on average, my goal is to have something on this channel every 8 or 9 days. That's the goal. I usually make it. Sometimes I might miss it, but I don't want to charge people because I'm not consistent enough. So until I can get to a space where I can really consistently put out content, I don't want to charge people. Let me see where we're at here. James Baldwin wrote about how MJ would be punished for his success in one of his essays. I see what you're saying. All right. James Baldwin has some really great work. There's a book I'm reading. Hold on, I got it in my Audible. I'm trying to do Audible in the car now instead of like, because my eyes get tired looking at pages sometimes. So I'll try to do Audible on the way to work. The James Baldwin I'm reading right now is The Fire Next Time. I'll show you what the wait, hold on. I'll show you. I don't know if you guys can see what the cover looks like here. The lighting's bad. Y'all see what it? All right, that's what we're doing right here. All right. All right. Now keep it moving. Scrolling. If I missed your comments, please don't fight me. I'm sorry. Celebrities are opportunists. Some are not. I mean, it's all kind of layers. There's a lot of people. I don't really ride behind a lot of celebrities. I will acknowledge celebrities for the entertaining aspect because I have my favorite celebrities, but I don't look to celebrities as a savior for anything. I don't look to them as an example of what to aspire to be as far as a collective or how to come out of the situations that we're in as a collective. They are not my example because a lot of celebrities had to sell out to get to where they are. Sorry, it is what it is. Even with Black politicians, there's no politician that I ride behind. I think we also have to get out of the habit of pretty much almost being fans of politicians. I think you can admire what a politician does, but I think the minute you become a fan, you no longer can really hold them to any fire. You can no longer give them critique because now you're protecting them from everything. And so when they do mess up, you don't want to have the conversation because you don't want people to dislike them. And I think that's a dangerous thing to do. I think like this, that was probably one of my flaws as a young 20-something. Like you couldn't tell me anything about Obama in those early years. When I was like 20 years old, you couldn't tell me nothing about Obama. I'd be ready to fight. You better not say nothing about Michelle, and I'd be out. What you want to do? And we fast forward some years later. I'm like, all right, the symbolism was cool, and I'll leave it at that. I think there's some things he was able to get accomplished, but I think there was so much more he could have done. And I really wish he'd kind of just be quiet now, because every time I hear a statement from him about something, I just get madder and madder. So yeah, just like Abby Wise said, support, but be critical. You can support whoever, but be critical. I'm also not a one-issue voter. And so like even when I vote for stuff, I try to vote for what makes the most sense in the moment that we're in. And I try to think long-term, not just about what's on my mind in that moment. But anyway, moving on. Did I write everything over here? Y'all keep putting LOL. Side note, did you? LOL, let me say this. So I've been on these internet streets since I was like 10, right? I used to post on all the music forums when I was little. When I was little, I used to think LOL meant duh. Like, because, you know, you would say something stupid and then people would put LOL. I thought LOL meant duh, like lol. I used to really think that's what it meant. I didn't know it meant laugh out loud. And then like when people put like the shake in my head, I thought it was a sound effect. I thought it was like shh, shh, shh. So like, and then one day I kind of figured it out, like, oh, this means laugh out loud. Okay, this means shaking my head. Because I just swore people go shh, shh. I'm like, what you shh for? What? I'm like 11 years old talking trash on dial-up internet. But yeah, I used to think it meant duh, lol. I'm like, y'all got one more lol to put up on under my little post here. Anyway, oh, okay. Then this clip we just saw. Ocean City Police with them tasing that 17-year-old for vaping, which again, it goes back to that conversation. We've already acknowledged that at this point we live in a police state where the police get to do whatever they want. And the video is absolutely horrible. So I guess he was in an area where you were not allowed to vape. One, I do want to say this, and this is not a dig at teenagers, but because I've worked with 10 different generations of teenagers at this point. Actually, I just went to this was our 10th high school graduation like 2 weeks ago. I just had my next group of seniors go off to be adults. But Teenagers don't pay attention to nothing. I mean that with love. They don't. Why? Because they're living in the moment. Life is good. They don't have too many cares in the world most of the time if they don't have to take care of their family. But teenagers sometimes aren't even paying attention to certain things like that because they're in a space where they can still have a little bit of freedom and liberation. And so for you to go and literally tase a kid whose hands were up and they still tase him and then kept kneeing him in the stomach talking about stop resisting. And I'm going to tell you why. Anytime they start yelling stop resisting and a person's not moving, that's just some insurance for the police. That way, if there's a lawsuit or they have to go to court, the police can say, oh, well, if you hear the audio, I'm saying stop resisting. And a lot of times, because the body cams are moving and everything, you can't really tell what's going on. The police officer can make this whole story about how there was a scuffle. We've seen so many stories where the story changes or the police said one thing, the video comes out and there's something on a totally different spectrum. And you like, wait a minute, what did you say happened again? Because this ain't adding up, you know? Thank you, Deshaun. So it's kind of like hot mess. Deshaun says, make Calvin love the content. I want my Betty Wright bio movie after Phyllis. I support Betty Wright getting a movie. But again, you keep watching them change the narrative. But that was absolutely crazy. And I think because there's been so much animosity towards police. A lot of police are just in a space where they don't know what to do. They just want to regain the respect they thought they had in the past. And so at this point, because there's some policy that's not supporting them, there's these movements, and they just go back to violence. There's no other way that they can put out this energy that they have. So they're just going to be violent. They're just going to do whatever they want. Because again, like we had with the conversation with maintaining the old guard, that old guard is still strong. So they can just do whatever they want. They know they'll be protected. And I think like we said with 2020, when we saw all the protests in the summer of 2020, where it got to the point where police were literally beating down news anchors on live TV, you saw where they just stopped caring at that point. It was like, it is what it is. Ain't nothing going to happen to us. And even white folks was getting beat up. You saw the old white man. He was trying to help the police officer. The officer knocked him down and cracked his skull. And he's just laid out. Just absolutely crazy. Give me 1 second. Hold on. My mother's still calling. I want to make sure everything's good. Give me 1 second, y'all. Hello? I'm still doing my live. Let me call you when I'm finished. Who? Yeah. Oh. Okay, let me call you when I'm done. All right. All right, can y'all hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I don't know if I just lost my stream with my sound. Can y'all still hear me? I don't know. I just see LOLs here. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Why is my thing so latent? Okay, y'all can hear me. Oh, so no, it's funny. One of these times, remember my mom called on one of these, and I thought I turned the mic off. And then when I watched it, and I had my mom on speaker, our whole conversation was on the live. I'm like, I'm glad she ain't say nothing crazy. Like, dang. But anyway, family chaos. We'll deal with that later. Where was I at? Okay, so yeah, going back to what I was saying. So a lot of police are on these power trips. And so you're seeing even more terrible things come out in relation to how they carry themselves because it's just, they have nothing to lose. They have enough backing. And again, going back to, did I write this down? Because there was something I want to say on that. I'll just mix it into the conversation of patriotism. Again, remember how we kept saying that a lot of white Americans see the police as an extension of themselves? This goes right back to that same conversation again about the old guard, whether it be our politics or whether it be the idea of patriotism. A lot of that just means whiteness. Can we be honest? You know what I mean? When you're looking at the policing system, what was it rooted in? Who was it set up to pretty much not manipulate, but pretty much be in charge of or take over or push around? Pretty much black folks and anybody who was not white, right? And so we're now at this space where you're having all these conversations about why the police are doing such a terrible job. And there's so many people breaking their necks to protect the conversations around police when it's convenient. Because we watch white folks go and beat up all the police at the Capitol, okay? So it's kind of like there's layers to how all of this works. Everything is all about convenience for some groups. It's all about where the goalpost is going to move. I'm like, y'all just be playing these games. You can't ever be consistent with anything. With any argument that's made, you can go find them doing the same thing on the other end of the spectrum in a different context, and then they'll try to find a way to justify it. I ain't got time. All right, let me read some comments here. All right. Yeah, this thing is latent. It's like a whole 2 minutes or like a whole minute behind. But whatever. Tokyo Soul Party said he turned his head for privacy. We can still hear you, bro. Oh, that's funny. Loud and clear. I still wasn't muted. See what I'm talking about? You know what? I think what happened, it probably just switched to the laptop. I'm gonna just forget it. I just ain't gonna answer no phones on here no more. I'm thinking, I'm glad it wasn't somebody else calling. I was on here talking nasty or something. Like, I'm gonna be off this in about 20 minutes. Y'all would have been like, wait a minute. Dang, I ain't answering the phone on this thing no more. All this equipment gonna get me caught up. Yes, lovely Coley. My mom made some time for me now, because my mom is getting married, so she got a man. She don't be claiming me no more. She is happily, and I'm happy for her. So she be busy. She ain't thinking about me like that. I thought y'all couldn't hear my conversation. I literally turned the mic off and I hit this button. Whatever. Okay. Where are we at? I'm scrolling a little bit. That's funny. Y'all heard all of that. I'm glad I ain't seen nothing crazy. He went to Virginia Tech. Oh, the kid that got tased at Ocean City. And that's crazy. I was just out there like 2 weeks ago. Crazy. Scroll. Let me see. Dang, this thing be lagging. I'm about to fight this laptop. And I was so mad because I was trying to open this on a different platform, but it wasn't working. So I had to go back to what we normally use. That's okay though. We'll try again next time. All right. Where we at? Scrolling. Sorry, I'm trying to get back to the bottom. All right. Yes, Annie, I really didn't say much. I just was like, okay. Yeah, I let my mom do all the talking. All right. Moving on. And then I saw this other thing too. This is based in DC. There's a club called Nelly's. Nelly's is like a gay sports bar that's it's like right around U Street. But there's a clip that's going viral where you see this black woman pretty much getting dragged out, like literally by her hair. Like the guy has her hair like wrapped, and they're like pulling this black woman down the stairs, kicking her out because allegedly they had her mixed up with another girl who allegedly had brought their own liquor into the venue and they wanted her to get out. What was interesting in that clip though is as you saw the guy trying to pull the girl down, I think her cousins jumped in and beat up the security guard. Now what kills me with this one is that the security guard was black. I'm like, come on, bro. You gonna drag a black woman down the stairs in this establishment? Really? But from what I've heard that venue has always had a history of kind of anti-blackness anyway with a lot of the things that they do. Like they caught a lot of smoke one time because I remember they had like a Blue Lives Matter flag, like the police flag up there. So they already got a history with some stuff. But I'm looking at the black man like, see, you did all that foolery trying to, play a role for this establishment, and now you done got fired because they fired the guy. But I don't know, these police are just out of control. And even people who are not police, they just feel if they're deputized, they can do what they want. That's always been an issue with a lot of nightclubs where sometimes the bouncers be doing too much or security be doing too much, and they be tossing and throwing people all the time. It's kind of like that clip with the police officer that was supposed to pull the pregnant woman over. Like he put on the flashing lights. She put on her flashers to signal that, hey, I'm going to pull over. But she was on a freeway, so she was trying to find the nearest exit. She was only going like 40, 50 miles an hour, if that. She was slowing down. And he literally went and did a pit maneuver. And then, of course, the vehicle loses control. Her car flips. She's pregnant. Fortunately, the baby and her are fine. But it's like you did all that. And literally, she was given maybe 30 seconds to comply before the pit maneuver came. I'm just like, are you serious? Like, what are you? These police are. There's some things you just can't reform. Even the same thing I saw the other case where the police had took the woman's phone, and I guess she took some little naked pictures, showing her little body parts to who she was going to send it to. And he literally took the photos for his own enjoyment. Just like, too much. But I did appreciate seeing the cousins handle that, to be honest. I enjoyed watching the cousins beat that security guard down. That's what you get. You tried it. It's never that serious where you got to drag somebody down the stairs over some liquor bottle being in the club. And then you got the wrong person on top of that. It just makes me wonder, like, well, what do you do to your wife at home? Or what do you do to your daughters? Like, come on, it's not that deep. Too much. Where are we at? Let me read a few more comments. We're going to start winding down in like another 40 minutes, I think. Oh, I bet she's going to sue. If I was her, I'll sue her. I'm suing Nelly's. I'm suing the security company that hired them. I'm suing everybody. I'm even suing the DJ for I'm going to find something to sue about. I'm going to say the music was too loud and nobody could hear me saying help. Like, everybody getting sued. All right. I'm telling you, don't let anything crazy ever happen to me, because the way everybody getting sued, I'm gonna be rich. Okay, we're gonna be doing this live from some island somewhere. All right, I'm gonna be just giving away money on the live. We're gonna do some real trivia. All right. Somebody said they protested the venue. I think I saw that on the news too. Yeah. Exactly. Miss People said you can't build upon a corrupt system or a corrupt and evil foundation and expect it to stand. And that's one of the things I think is existing with the United States right now. All of that corruption and all of the evil that's taken place for so many years has come back to bite at this point, because we've tapped out on a lot of resources. We've tapped out on I think Gen X might have really been the last generation to really enjoy, I guess, the financial freedoms and what would have been the greatness of America. The earlier half of Gen X, not the latter half. The ones that's born in like 1980 now, they struggling just like the millennials and Gen Z. But I'm talking about the ones born in like 75. That might be that last generation that got some of what was at least reasonable when it came to living, where you could still, have a pretty, a job that paid minimum wage and still be able to live. We're not in those days anymore. Scrolling down. Thank you, CC. But the police show, hold on, this thing keeps scrolling. Oh, now I want to scroll on time when I'm trying to read somebody's comment. But police show consistency. I think I'm trying to say consistency when it comes to those two white kids shooting at them. Oh, I forgot about that. The clip of the two, they were like 12, right? These little white kids, and they were in there shooting at the police, like a whole standoff, and was shooting at the police. This is why when y'all were frying me up and trying to fight me about Ma'Khia Bryant, I wasn't having it, because I was like, I don't care. That girl should still be alive. I don't care what y'all say. Y'all can fight me on it. I ain't budging on it. But it's interesting because everybody was like, well, what were the police supposed to do? Blah, 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 blah. Fast forward, now we got two kids in a whole shootout with police, and they live to tell about it. So that's the point that I'm trying to make. I'm not saying the police need to shoot and kill kids, but it's like, y'all let Ma'Khia Bryant die. She had a knife. You brought a gun to a knife fight and shot her. But all of a sudden, y'all can bring in two kids that are shooting at y'all with all these damn weapons and bring them home safely. That's the stuff I be talking about. AK-47. That's not even like a pistol. That's not a no. That's and they made it out alive. I'm not saying shoot the kids, but I'm like, literally, y'all went and took Ma'Khia Bryant out real quick. Hot mess. Same thing with that girl in Idaho that shot up the school. Went and shot one of the classmates, and again, made it right on out just fine. So I don't be playing these games. I can't do it. Somebody was asking me about the little Joe Manchin guy from West Virginia and that Seminole lady from Arizona and what I think Democrats should do. Again, I'm not a part of either party, but I do pay attention. I'll say this, as far as Joe Manchin, and because they're jumping onto this conversation about, oh, well, we're protecting democracy or we're holding on to traditions. Joe Manchin doesn't want to eliminate the filibuster because he feels like that is, I don't know, destroying the voice of America. He does not support the For the People Act, as far as, this is a federal act that will pretty much protect voting rights for all Americans. If that Voting for the People Act can get passed, the majority of those crazy voter suppression laws that they're trying to put out, all 381 of them, most of them will be invalid like overnight. It's just like, because it goes back to pretty much the For the People Act pretty much almost reinstates that element of that amendment that was stripped down when we talk about voting rights, right? And so he's saying, oh, no, it's divisive. They love to use the word divisive. That's the trigger word for me, because we ain't ever been united. But again, when it comes to people getting something, all of a sudden it's divisive if white people are going to be uncomfortable. And so for me, this is not about choosing America or choosing to protect democracy. This is them choosing whiteness. Why? Because look at who the majority of their supporters are and look at the states that they live in. This man lives in West Virginia. The majority of his constituents are white. It's not about him thinking about America. It's about how he recognizes how white Americans in his state will respond if he supports that legislation. Same with the Seminole lady. Arizona is barely a blue state. I also don't buy into this red and blue state stuff. It's a thing, but I think it's not realistic, because until we get to a place where literally every resident in the state that's eligible to vote votes, you don't really know where a state stands. But I will say this, when it comes to putting states into different colors, I don't see a state as a red state or a blue state unless they've been that color for like 4 terms. You know what I mean? So like Virginia has been blue for about 3 terms now. I'm like, okay, it might just actually be a blue state. We're going to see what happens in 2024. Like North Carolina, I remember they went blue in 08, but they've been red ever since. Florida's back and forth. It's been red for 3 terms. So I never launch and latch onto the idea of colored states, because things always change and shift. But Seminoles in Arizona, which right now at the moment is blue. And I'm telling you, in my opinion, that's still a very red state. But they're holding on to whiteness. It's not about democracy. It's holding on to whiteness and keeping the status quo, keeping comfortability. Because again, you're fearful of how your constituents are going to respond to other people getting rights. Listen to how that sounds. There's a bill that's out that guarantees that everybody who is eligible to vote can vote, and vote free and fairly, where they don't have to go through different stipulations, where there's not all these different laws or different random things that make it difficult to vote, where there's no disenfranchisement, where the districts aren't so gerrymandered, where you got too many people in one district and only 2 polls to vote, and like all of that kind of stuff. It fights to pretty much seam ripple out of that. How does it sound that you say I don't support that because it's divisive? Divisive to who? Make it make sense. See what I mean? And then again, I also believe a lot of these politicians, they're kind of two sides of the same coin anyway. Some of these folks I think have infiltrated different parties anyway, and are kind of pretending to be certain members of a party and they're really not. That's what I see it as. But yeah, they again, some people are kind of done with voting. They're just like, "F it, I'm out of it." But again, my thing is, if they don't want you to vote so bad, why is that? So again, clearly there's some weight that's behind it. And again, it goes back to the conversation about the judging or the court appointed judges again. And I'm just like, if white Americans could just realize, like, y'all are getting screwed over like everybody else as well. So we're still going to have the issue of racism, but at least when it comes to policy and things around the economy, things around education, healthcare, jobs, infrastructure, that stuff everybody needs. But some people want to hold on to whiteness and want to hold on to the idea of being right, that they'll go ahead and be collateral. You know what I mean? This is why even when we have these conversations of politics with black voters, because this is our conversation, because I think the black community as a collective, we're spreading further and further apart with how we see things politically, because some folks are like, I'm tapped out. We keep playing these games. We keep saving a certain party and they don't ever do nothing for us. And then it sucks because the other option for a lot of people, especially people who are older, who've been doing this for 40 and 50 years, and they don't want to keep playing these games, because some folks are like, well, that's what y'all get. Y'all put Biden in there. It is what it is. And it's kind of like, what for some people, they're looking at it like, well, what's the other option? Like, if I understand the idea of trying to teach the Democrats a lesson, but for some people, they're looking at it like, if I go and teach the Democrats a lesson, my collective has to be collateral to the decisions of the other people on the other crazy side. So it's kind of like you're in this web of chaos. And that's why I've been preaching all about third party for like the last year and a half. And I'm telling y'all now who's the candidate. I have yet to see who's going to be the third party person we've been talking about pushing. There's nobody out there. And so I'm just saying, don't come around here in 2024 and then all of a sudden want to shake the table when this is the moment now. Whatever person that people want to push out there to be this third party candidate, this is that person that should already kind of be in the forefront now. Their conversation should kind of be a part of the national conversation. Their platform should be somewhat known. They should already be making their rounds. The grassroots movement should already be building them up. And the other thing I want to say about third party is, as much as I support the idea of third party, we also need to be careful about who you get behind this third party. A lot of third party candidates are just as terrible as the main two party candidates. They be just as terrible. So really pay attention to who you got going in there. Anyway, moving on. And like I said, all these people are bought out anyway. All right, moving on. Oh, somebody felt some kind of way about what I just said, and you'd be all right. Anyway. Somebody say stats show more white men are killed by cops. Yeah, but then you need to talk about the conversation of when you're talking about percentages, and that answers that question. Next. It is lightning crazy outside. All right, moving on. Again, these candidates are so bought out. This is why I said I'd never do politics, because they just buy out all the candidates. There's like, I think there's like one or two candidates I somewhat kind of pay attention to, but everybody else, my guard is up with anybody who runs. I don't care what party you're in. I'm just like, okay, we'll see. You know what I mean? Anyway, somebody said third-party candidates end up being somebody like Tiger King. Yeah, this is why we got Caitlyn Jenner trying to be a governor. You ain't ever been in politics, and now you want to run the largest state in the country, or the largest economy in the country. California is the 8th largest economy in the world, just as a state by itself. You think Caitlyn Jenner is going to run it? Okay. Where are we at? I'm going to skip all that. I see Alton Sterling as well. His family was awarded $4.5 million. If you remember, he was another individual that was sadly killed unarmed by police, and but the family has received a $4.5 million settlement. Again, I'm happy for the family, but again, money will never bring back, that person. So good for them. But I'm just like, if y'all just stop killing folks unjustifiably, because again, I think we as a country are too comfortable with the idea of police killing folks anyway. People like to justify it. I think it's something that shouldn't be normalized, but whatever. But yeah, so, good for his family, but still terrible. I'm going to wind down. And then also the family of Gabriel Tate. That's the little boy that killed himself in Ohio from 2017. He kept complaining about being bullied, and the school did nothing about it, like over and over and over. And he ended up killing himself, which is kind of sad. I always feel really terrible when a child feels that life is not worth living. And I say that because children are supposed to, have all of their innocence. And I tell this to all my high schoolers, because like every high school I have, by the time they get to like 9th or 10th grade, we start having a conversation about what's next in life. Like, what do you want to do next? And what makes me nervous sometimes is a lot of them have already kind of settled on life. It's like, oh, I'm like, wait a minute, you're like 16. The word just should not even be in your category or in your vocabulary, because it's like you're already settling to do less than what you anticipated. Like at 16, you're supposed to want to start a production company and go to the moon and be this and be that. And it's so sad because I start to see so many who already they see that the world just sucks. And they're already trying to prepare and figure out how they can fit in within whatever pocket. But with children, I just feel that children are supposed to have that innocence, and the innocence to feel free. And because you don't have to pay bills, you don't have any responsibilities. Your biggest responsibility in most situations is just making sure the house is clean and you keep your schoolwork up. That's for, not every kid gets that privilege. Some kids have it tough, but it kills me when I hear about like a child decide that life isn't worth living, because it's like you haven't even got a chance to live yet. Even I feel like even when you're like 25 and under, you still haven't even lived yet. To be honest, like life really, there's so many layers to it. So it always hurts my heart when I hear that like kids just they just that one, that's what gets me. So I think the family has started like a kind of organization or something to kind of bring awareness to that, but it's really tough. And I think these kids have it tough because now we're also in this era of social media where, you know, people are, and this is adults too, you're building your image and how you see things and even your self-esteem off of what other people are showing in relation to their life. Instagram, I think, is probably one of the worst social media outlets, to be honest. If you're somebody who is really all over the place internally, I think that's the worst app to be on. You know, if you're not feeling good about life, the last thing you need to do is go on something like Instagram and see everybody else, you know, because a lot of people front for Instagram anyway. Everybody, you only put the great things that are happening. You're not going to say, oh, I was fired today. You know, that's not going to be the main post. You're going to do the post of you at the beach, or, you know, you at the party, or you proposed to your girlfriend, or, you know, those are the things you post. So if you're somebody who's already not feeling super great, or maybe you don't feel that you're where you want to be in life, and you keep scrolling, especially when you start seeing your peers that you grew up with, and maybe they're doing really, really well, and you feel like you're not where you're supposed to be, like Instagram is the worst thing to get on, the worst, you know? And so kids are also, you know, they're on that same stuff. But I think the difference between kids and adults, especially adults in my age bracket, we existed before social media was a thing. So we still knew how to like communicate. We can sometimes figure out, you know, reality versus what's kind of built for the internet. I think with a lot of kids, they look at like a lot of these apps and what's on there as just reality, and it's their day to day. So it's a lot. Anyway, I'm going to start winding down so we can chop it up for a little bit. Oh, shoot. What did I just click something? I don't know what I clicked. I hope I didn't just block somebody. I hope not. Sorry if I did. Oh, no, I didn't. Okay. I was trying to scroll up and click the wrong thing. All right. But no, that poor kid, that one's sad. I don't like to hear stuff like that. Okay. Thank you, Aaron Street. DB Cooper was 1971. Why did I think 1980? What was 1980? Mount St. Helens, May 18th, 1980. Maybe that's what I was thinking. Okay. No, Helens was 1981. Oh, let me pull it up. I'm being OCD. Hold on. It was 80. Mount St. Helens. Yeah, 1980. Okay. I wasn't crazy. All right. All right, folks. Dang, you're over here deleting somebody's message. Oh, somebody must be on here trolling. Oh, well. All right. I'm missing. Clearly, I missed all these comments y'all leaving. Y'all on here frying people up, and I done missed something. I done missed the whole party, huh? What do you think about Godfrey yelling at that billboard highlighting a biracial couple? I didn't see whatever that was. Godfrey's usually pretty on point, though, a lot of times. So I'm sure I don't know what he said. I got to go back and look. Reality TV and most social media platforms never offer positive content for kids and young adults. That's because positivity is not entertaining. I don't want to say we've been programmed, but we tend to flock to the chaos and the drama. That tends to be what's entertaining. This is why I think about most reality shows. If the season is boring, if they ain't fighting, you know what I mean? That's kind of where we're at. This is kind of why I like that BET Encore show. Even though they're fighting, it's more so like creative fighting. Like, oh, well, I don't like how you sing this song, or I don't like the vision you have for the group. Like, that's more entertaining for me. Because some of them shows, they're so staged. They just set the people up, and every week they fighting. And so you got people like, you know, people that are in their 50s still trying to square up. I'm like, are y'all serious? All right. And then you got to keep, because I think even with the reality shows, I was thinking about it. Like some of those reality shows that have been on for years and years and years, think about like even the life cycle of the shows. It's like, okay, you film for, I don't know, 3 or 4 months, and the producers try to create spaces where there can be a whole bunch of drama, and then you fight and do whatever. You do the reunion show and cuss each other out at the reunion, and then you go film again. You do it again and do that same cycle. So imagine being on that show for 10 plus years. people's lives are really not this chaotic every day. Like, think about most shows you watch, whether it's, well, if y'all watch them, like a Love and Hip Hop and all that, it's nothing but drama every 5 minutes. Most people aren't living a life that is that chaotic every day. You know what I mean? But with reality TV, you can condense it all and put it in like a package deal and just bop, 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 bop. And so people latch onto it because it's entertaining. And then this is why you've seen so many people become famous just from drama. They don't really do anything. They don't really have a talent or a skill, but everybody knows their name because they cussed this person out on some show, or they dragged somebody up the stairs on some show. You know, that's where we're at. All right. All right, where are we at here? What? I just saw the video. The woman ran over in the street in Minneapolis. I didn't see that one either. Wow. I don't remember what I saw. I didn't see that one. There's so much stuff. I've kind of also had to, like, I'm not gonna lie, I've kind of fell back a little bit from like being so in the loop with a lot of stuff just for my own inner peace, because it gets triggering and draining sometimes to always know about so many like traumatic things. It can be a lot. So sometimes I take breaks. Like the summer is when I like to live life a little bit. So that's where I'm at. Kwame Brown, I haven't paid too much attention to. I've seen a few clips of him frying some people up, but he's half and half with me. Some things I agree with, some things I'm like, nah, man, not at all. But I do think, look, he be frying up some of the people that keep coming after him. I think he's somebody. Do not go after people if you don't know what they got on you. He was frying up everybody at ESPN. I haven't heard of the show Blue Therapy. I don't know what that one is. Yes, we got to protect our heart and souls. That's my thing. When stuff becomes too much, take a break from it. Find something that gives you serenity internally. And then you rejuvenate, and then you can come back to stuff if you would like to. I think we talked about it in the news before. I remember there was like the Black News channel we talked about maybe a year ago. I finally found the channel on my little cable package. I've been trying to support them a little bit. They be a little iffy too sometimes for me, but I'm trying with them. We'll see. I think one of the things we have to stop doing as well, my beef I've seen is like, if there's already a conversation that's had and it's already locked in and we're now just trying to push the conversation out there to get more support, why put people on your platform that don't support that and want to combat you on everything? And then you have a moment where you're arguing with somebody about something so minuscule. Like, I feel like there's no purpose in having Black people argue about reparations. Like, if you have somebody who doesn't support it and thinks everything is all fine and dandy, why do you have them on the show? They're just in the way. Like, certain things like that. But whatever. Miss People says, Mr. Calvin, we've become too socialized. I think about that sometimes too. Like, I think about how often I grab my phone. Like, sometimes if I like wake up at 3 or 4 in the morning, I don't know, just to go get a glass of water or something, even just getting the water, I'm checking the phone. Can't even see straight. Eyes burning because you woke up the wrong way. You still over there, trying to, who sent me what? All right. Have you seen Wendy hitting on Still Married? She's entertaining. I don't take her seriously though. I'm not, and now my schedule, I'm not even home when Wendy's on anyway. But Wendy, I used to follow her on radio when I was in college, and every now and then I'll check out the show, but I don't take her seriously. I think she plays her lane very well for what she does, but it ain't the lane I'm really into that much. I'll check it out sometimes to see what little topics they're talking about, but half the time she won't be talking about nothing. And she hates on Black women too much for my liking. Scrolling. Creating chaos is nonsense. Exactly. Dang. Somebody says nobody gets up every day dressed for Broadway. Exactly. Same thing with them reality shows. Somebody said life before the internet was so much calmer. And see, for me, I've been on the internet like that since I was like 11-ish. So I do remember life before the internet. I was probably just outside more, but also the internet was different too because it was dial-up. You couldn't do everything. Like, this is before YouTube. This is before social media. So social media would have been like music forums back then, and maybe chat rooms. All my friends, we used to all be on like AOL Instant Messenger or Yahoo Messenger, chatting. And then we graduated to the phone. So I remember being in like I think high school, we used to all watch Making the Band, like with the band when it was like Babs and Ness and all them. We'd be on like 9-way watching Making the Band, and it would be so funny because then somebody's mom needed to get on the phone, so somebody needed to hang up, and then you'd lose like 4 people, and then you couldn't remember who called who. So everybody like, okay, everybody just hang up. I'm gonna call you. You call Darnell. Darnell's gonna call Michon, and then Michon's gonna call Daisha, and like you got all this, and then we try it all over again. Like that was kind of like my teenage years. I didn't get heavy into social media like Twitter and all that stuff till like 2009. Let me see. Did anyone see High on the Hog on Netflix? I've been meaning to watch that. People said it's really good, so I'm gonna check that out. All right. Dylon, and Dylon. That was my show, though. I love Making the Band. I was excited for the new one to come out. That is, any kind of reality show that deals with like people trying to do music is always gonna be funny to me. I enjoy it every time. Every time. Sweet Tooth on Netflix. I'm behind. Let me tell y'all what I've been watching, because I haven't watched a lot of stuff. Like I said, I've been watching the BET Encore. I just checked out the Kim Fields and what's his name? Mike Epps sitcom. What is it? The Upshaws. The Upshaws with Wanda Sykes. I'm 2 episodes in on that. What else have I been watching? Damn, I'm boring. I don't be watching nothing. One of my subscribers sends me so many documentaries. I'll be trying to get through all of them. I think that's Albert Old School is always sending like documentaries to check out. So half the time I'm trying to catch up on half of those. But they look, you got me backlogged, man. You didn't send me about 40 in the last 2 weeks. I'm only like 4 in. Thank you, Tamika. Just because I have so many things I'm trying to get finished before 2021 is over, I don't have as much time to really sit and watch TV. I don't even have a lot of time to talk on the phone either. I be feeling bad because folks be trying to get to me and I can't ever get back to them sometimes. I try to make time for people, but I'm like locked in. Like if you can, I got all my goals like written right here for the next 3 months and then for the year. And so I'm like not even halfway through and I'm frustrated. So I'm trying to get all that stuff taken care of. Are you ever going to do a video on how you open your own center? So my center is my center, but it's not my center. It's still a part of a larger company. It's just I'm in charge. But like I said, for people who do have an interest in opening or operating their own community center, your best bet is one, of course, you always have to find funding, but your best bet is always to create a partnership. Like partnership is the way to go right now. If you have I don't know if you can see the flashes, but partnership is the way to go if you have an interest in like starting a community center. And your best bet is either partnering with the city or the county that you live in, because a lot of times these cities and these counties, they have some kind of grant program anyway, where they're looking for partners to do things. A lot of times, if you look in a lot of schools have some kind of program within their building where maybe there's a company that comes into the school and they run programming maybe after school for kids, like during the summer or during the school year. Or a lot of times you see apartment complexes, they may have a community center, and the community center is now operating as like a space, or that community room is now a community center and has different space. But I always say your goal, if you don't have a huge endowment to do things, is you partner. And what it is you partner with the city or the county or the town. They provide the space, you provide the programming and the salaries for, you know, whoever is going to be working under you. And then you get a bunch of different grants. You know, you got to get some really big grants. And there's different grants. You have the federal grants, you have state grants, you have corporate grants. And the thing that you would want to do, I think, the best grants to get are always unrestricted grants, because that means that you can pretty much do what you want with the money. And so you can kind of work towards your program. If you get a grant that's restricted, there's stipulations into what it is that you can do. So I don't know, if you get a grant from McDonald's, all right, they say, okay, we're going to give you $10,000 to run a soccer league. That $10,000 is restricted though. And so they're going to tell you exactly what you can spend it on. So of that $10,000, you can spend $5,000 on travel and uniforms and food and coaches. Another $1,000 needs to be spent on healthy snacks, and another $1,000 needs to be spent on training for the coach, like stuff like that. But if it's unrestricted and they just give you that 10K, it's like you can do whatever you want, just make your report with it. And so the best bet is getting into different programs, and especially like a lot of counties, especially if it's a wealthy area, there's all kind of programs. And then really the biggest bet is like reporting. You just have to have outcomes. If you have the outcomes and you can show that you're making an impact, it's your best bet. But I will say working in the community is an investment of time. You give up a lot of your personal life. You give up a lot of your social life. There's many nights where you were supposed to be off at 5 and you didn't get off till 9. You know, there's gonna be those moments where there's the random kid who gets kicked out of the house. They ain't got nowhere to go. They can't come to your house because you got company tonight. And so you got to figure out, you know, you got to go to the mom or the dad's house and get cussed out by the parents and everything because you don't want, I don't like calling CPS. I don't like calling CPS. I've always found a way around it most of the time, as long as it's like, if it's different if it's something where the child's in danger. But, you know, there's all kind of just different things that take place. So it really is a life investment. Sometimes I question, like, how are you still doing this? Because I've been doing this for like, my specific center, this is year number 10, but working in this field, this is year 13. So I'm like, you really spent all of your adulthood doing this mess. And I'd be thinking sometimes like, man, you know, I could have been in LA. I could have built me, but you know, it is what it is. But the end result is the good thing. Like, it's kind of cool. Oh, here comes the emergency alert. Flashlight. Okay, well, I'm up high. So anyway, dang, all right, we hear it. I don't know if you can hear my phone buzzing, but yeah, the reward is that you get to see the outcomes. That's the cool thing. Being there so long now, you're watching kids that were like 7 and 8, 10 years ago go to college and stuff. That's always really cool. You know, kids, and it's so funny because sometimes the kids that were the baddest, and I'm only speaking from the youth development realm. Some people do community centers for senior citizens or other things. My focus is just youth development. But, you know, sometimes some of the kids that were the worst, and I don't think kids are bad. I just think kids need something to do sometimes. So they just need attention or they just need to feel that they belong, and you can watch their energy shift. But some of the ones that used to just raise hell, they end up being your favorites years later. And it's so funny because the worst ones, they're never sick. They have perfect attendance. They be there every day. It could be a tornado outside. They still knocking on the glass. We gonna be open? I'm like, like goodness. So it pays off. Anyway, that was a great question. Maybe I'll do something that's a little bit more in depth. But yeah, I really say, like, if that's the route you want to go, partner with a company. And even if you can get multiple people, or sometimes even if you can get multiple organizations to do one giant partnership together, and you want to have multiple streams of funding. You don't want to just have one source of funding, because if that grant disappears or something happens, it's a wrap. You always want to have options. And it's all about networking and building connections. And it's also really good to connect with other people in that same field or other organizations or other companies. And so, yes, I have my community center, but I also partner with the community center that's up the street because they got a bigger one that has a pool and a gym and stuff that my center ain't got. And so we do lots of like collaborative partnerships. I think we did a summer camp together one time. Just because they had a much bigger space. So I was like, well, I'll bring my programming and my staff and we'll kind of show you how we do things. And what you guys get in return is, you know, one, you get some better, I don't want to say better programming, but you get some additional programming. Then my kids get a bigger space to play in. And then all the kids together get to kind of mix and mingle. So yeah, that's a tough field to work in. And that's why, like, even with politics, that's why I have my views when it comes to politics, because the nonprofit world is so dependent upon who's in office and how things go. Once they start cutting funds, that crappy. We were struggling under Cuckoo Man. That's why I couldn't wait for him to get out. Goodness. All right. Anyway. Yeah, it's the same thing, Christine. I hate calling CPS, but as a mandated reporter, I'm required by law. You have to, and it sucks so bad. I've seen some horrible cases. I'm like, man. So I've been fortunate where there hasn't been anything too crazy where I've ever had to break up somebody's family. I don't want to be that person, but yeah, that mandated reporting be kicking you behind sometimes. All right. Where are we at? We're gonna wind down a little bit because I need to go to bed. My work schedule's changed. I got to get up early now. Is this going to be available for rewatch? Yes, it will. Once this is done, it uploads on YouTube on its own. By the way, I have no control over what the ads are doing. For some reason on my lives, when they replay, for some reason, all the ads are like condensed in like the first 2 minutes. And it's like ad. I have nothing to do with that. It's YouTube doing its own thing. All right. I talk very fast, Tamara. I know. I'd be in my pocket just like, man, that's just, I'd be excited. I'd be in my little pocket. Which is why I like to do my pre-recorded videos, because sometimes when I'm editing, if I watch it, I'm like, okay, you were talking too fast. I'll go back and re-record the whole segment just to still talk too fast once I get in my pocket. Like, man, my brain just be rushing. Any thoughts on Colin Kaepernick's book cover? There have been petitions created to change the cover. Let me see what it looks like. I haven't been paying attention to Kaepernick for a while. Let's see. Colin Kaepernick book cover. Oh, what's it got? I don't have a problem with it. What's the one? It's just abolition for the people. He ain't as deep as they be painting him out to be, but I respect it. All right. Yemi said I'm in Philly and we are in the middle of a thunderstorm. Yeah, Philly, DC, New York, we all kind of get the same weather. Baltimore too. We all just get whatever y'all got. We normally get too. So when y'all's getting hit with Hurricane Sandy, y'all's getting hit too. All right. Thank you, Abby Wise. Yes, mine working on overload. I'd be leaving out all kind of words. I should be talking. Man, that's probably why I like to do music, because I can slow down and really like concentrate and really like let stuff flow how it should go. You know what I mean? Oh, one more thing, Camera Music TV, even with the partnerships as well, one thing you can always do too, like if you live in an area that's by a shopping center, if you literally just go company to company, like say you live in one of those areas and there's like a shopping center that has like, I don't know, a Michael's craft store and a Bed Bath and Beyond and a Target and a Chipotle and all those franchises. Most franchises have some kind of community outreach quota they need to meet. And so even if it's only $1,000 or $1,500, say it might not be enough to fund your center, but it may be enough to host some kind of program where you can have some kind of, I don't know, mental health event for teenagers that battle with depression, and you have enough to feed 100 people because they sponsored the food. Like that's always a great way to go. Like really, it's networking and connecting, because a lot of people love to help, and there's a lot of people who have a passion to work in the community, but they're just not in a capacity to do so because of the field that they work in, or they have listen, this is a field that doesn't bring in a lot of money. This is probably why I got 800 side hustles, but they love to do something, so they jump at any chance to go and do some kind of partnership or anything like that. So always check that out. All right, somebody said, is that on Netflix? I don't know what show you're talking about, so somebody can update me on it. Good question, Tykel Williams. What are your thoughts on the new Whitney Houston and Michael Jackson biopics approved by their states? I don't want any more movies. At least with Whitney, let Whitney rest. They did about 800 Whitney movies. What don't we know at this point? Like, let Whitney rest for a while. We revisit this in 10 to 15 more years when there's a new generation that may not be as familiar. And I only say that because there's been so many Whitney projects and none of them really showed her in the best light to begin with. And it's not to say that we're supposed to run away from maybe problems that people have, but a lot of these are cash grabs. As far as Michael Jackson, I think there could be one, maybe, because for me, the last real Michael Jackson biopic was Jackson 5 American Dream. I don't count that Flex Alexander one. Plus, that thing is never re-aired. So, I'm up for the biopics, but I just think with Whitney, they drag her name through the mud so much. And with Michael, same thing. It's like, y'all, I guess. I mean, I'll watch it, though. I'll be the first one watching while I'm talking all this trash. But with Whitney, I just think you've seen just this greed behind her name. And it's like, for all the support that y'all had, y'all should have been helping her instead of you was counting all the money then. And now that she's gone, you're still snatching up the money. So that Pat Houston lady, I don't be trusting. All right. It will never sit well with me that both Michael Jackson's kids and his family and Whitney Houston's family were all on reality shows within 3 months of both of them passing. That doesn't sit right in my spirit. If I lose my signal or anything, it's just because it's storming outside. We'll just have to say goodnight. But I think we're still on. How do I feel about Doja Cat's new song? I didn't hear the song. I saw the video, but my TV was on mute because I was working on something. Visually, it looks cool. The little intergalactic space thing. I haven't heard the song though yet. There's a bunch of songs. I'm behind on music right now. I've been in this throwback people before my time era and a lot of like indie artists. If I'm telling you guys what I've been listening to lately, of the new folks, there's an artist named one of my good friends just got me into this song. There's an artist, or I don't know if they're a group. It's called Young Fathers, but they have a song called Border Girl that I really like. It's a dope song. I told you the J. Cole album was all right. What else have I checked out? It's been a minute. I haven't been listening to that much stuff. I mean, okay, there's like Giveon and Gallant had the Neptune project. That was pretty cool. I checked out Miguel's EP. Let me see. There's a group called, I think they're called Child. There's a song called Gone I like. There's an indie artist, Smith. He has a dope song that's called Round and Round. I like. It's kind of has like a 90s vibe to it, so I like that one. So I'm behind on music. Like I've been playing a bunch of old throwback stuff lately. just to get my own motivation for other stuff. Oh, and I'm updating all my playlists on Spotify. All of them are going to get updated next week. So, because I know that like there's the Calvin's R&B Gems one. That's the big one most people are on. But it has too many songs. It has like 2,000 songs in it. But I want to condense that one a little bit. Because the only thing I did notice, there's a lot of great music in there. But sometimes you might be in the mood for like some Maxwell D'Angelo type crooning stuff. And while you're jamming that, out of nowhere, there's like a Cheryl Lynn song that comes on. And it's a disco track. So I'm like, let me kind of condense that. But there's a New Jack Swing one that's coming out. And then I'm going to change a few other ones as well. And I'm going to have one that's a little bit more current. All right. Let's see. Let me scroll. All right. I'm about to wind down because I need to go to bed. Why y'all deleting the mail? What did Mel do? Leave a Mel alone. All right. Young Fathers. Yeah, I do like them. Do I like Silk Sonic? Well, I do like Anderson .Paak. I like what they have. My only critique, as great as Bruno can sing, I think sometimes the conversation of nostalgia is tricky because if that's the only thing you ever bring to the table, you start to question, well, who are you as an artist? That's my only thing. Now, people may say, well, you do the same thing. You always making all that Janet and Prince sound and stuff. But I give you a little bit of everything if you actually sit through my albums. I just want to say that. That's all. I do like what they have to offer, but, you know, it's cool. It's cool. I don't know about leaving the door open, though. They must not know what neighborhood I live in. If I leave this door open, all this stuff going to be missing when I wake up. All right. Oh, Leela James. She just, good for her. I just saw that she, the song that she has this out just hit like number 10 on like adult contemporary radio, like R&B. So good for her. I like Leela James. I love the pocket of her voice that she sings in. She has a very interesting tone, but I love it. All right. Dang, thing's scrolling. All right. My thing is not, this thing get on my nerve. I swear, we about to get a new computer. I'm about to buy me a new MacBook. This thing be tripping. Somebody said, instead of living through other people's and their biopics, we need to create our own family biopics. I said biopic. Oops. Biopic. We have the technology and the knowledge. I mean, you can do that, but I think the reason biopics have worked is because it normally, when I like a biopic when it makes you a fan of the artist afterwards. Like a lot of Black people love Selena, and that's because we saw the movie. And after we saw the movie, we'd be riding hard for Selena, right? All right, everybody's still mad at Yolanda. We can't wait for her to get out of jail. Go see her on the street. But no, a lot of biopics do a great job of turning you into a fan of an artist, but some only want to spend time and harp on all the bad. The New Edition series was really, really good. And it was interesting because I noticed like all the kids I work with really became big New Edition fans. Like that's one of the things biopics can do that work is it introduces a new generation to those artists. Even with me and like the Jacksons, you know, I'm more of a Janet fan, but with like the Jacksons as a group, I became a fan after I saw Jackson 5 American Dream. And so some biopics do a great job of bringing you in. A lot of people love Tina Turner after they saw the movie. And so it's kind of like with biopics, a lot of these more recent ones only want to harp on scandal. That's why the Aaliyah one was so terrible. They just wanted to spend all the time talking about R. Kelly, and that movie just went everywhere. It made no sense. They had Aaliyah in like 1999 mad because R. Kelly had married somebody else, and then she stormed out of the room. I was like, Aaliyah was not thinking about no R. Kelly in no 1999, please. So stuff like that, it waters down. But I think you can have some good ones. I think the Natalie Cole one was a good one as well. There's a bunch of good ones. I didn't watch the Selena series. I was meaning to watch it. Then I heard so many horrible reviews, so I skipped it. Plus, I heard it was not good and that they had some horrible behind-the-scenes stuff. What's my favorite En Vogue album? I don't want to be cliche and say Funky Divas, but that really is my favorite En Vogue album. But I like most of their albums. I like EV3 as well. Of their newer albums, I did like the most recent one that came out in 2017, 2018. That's the one that has the song Rocket and I'm Good. I did like that album. I do like the En Vogue that exists with Rona. I like the original, but I like the one that's with Rona as well. Oh no, Abby Wise, you're right. It is the bedroom door, I guess, for the Silk Sonic song. But I ain't too many doors around here being left open, period. Folks be stealing around this neighborhood. All right. I have not caught the episode of Terrell's show with Chrisette Michele yet, Kelly, but I do plan to watch. I do feel like with Chrisette Michele, it's funny that y'all canceled her, but y'all let a whole lot of other folks slide. A lot of folks got to slide. I'm not saying like, I don't know. My thing is, I felt some kind of way about, you know, what she did, but I think her nail in the coffin was doing the press tour and then trying to answer for it. She should have just let it die down. And then you watch all these other entertainers do things 10 times and 10 times over, just worse. And I'm like, you just watch them get a slap on the wrist. But I think one of the flaws that exists, if you're already not super established and you do something crazy out of pocket, it's hard to climb out of that hole that you get into. I think she kind of, I feel bad for her. Great voice, great talent. She's a little different, but I think she has some great talent. I don't know if she'll ever be able to make a comeback, but you know, I mean, y'all let Kanye just get away with murder. So yeah, Kanye just get do whatever you want. Y'all fine with it. So yeah, I ain't trying to tear Kanye down, but like Lil Wayne, all of them, all these rappers be saying all kind of foolery and BS and leading y'all into all kind of dark holes, and y'all let them just slide. I might say, will you marry me? Like, I do need some children soon. I'm taking too long to start a family. All right. Okay, we're gonna wind down. She said, I didn't cancel. Don't say y'all. Are you doing a supporting small business video again for Juneteenth or anything? Well, the shout out is supposed to be out. I already filmed it. I just need to edit it. Like I said, with the shout outs, I be trying to give everybody some good time. And I actually go, if you're a part of my shout out series, I actually look at what it is that you sent me. If you give me your album, I actually sit and listen to the album. If it's beauty products, I really probably don't really get the products, but I will check out the website and everything else like that. If it's a book, hold on, let me go grab it real quick while I'm at it. Let me see. Lord. Where is, okay. So the most recent book I got, this is actually from one of the subscribers. This is from April Williams. She has this book. This is actually going to be in the shout out series, but this is her book, Dreams Come True. She actually just wrote it not too long ago. And so I actually try to read the people's stuff. So that's why they take so long, because I really try to actually check out what it is that I'm endorsing. So I'm just not telling y'all to check out some BS. And so it will be out soon. I took too long to do it because I was also doing the next So What Happened video, which is kicking my behind. And then my other little projects. So yeah, I be stretched thin sometimes. That's why sometimes, like that last in the news, I'm not gonna lie, I got so tired. I was like, you know what, I'm going to bed. Let me just put out what I got. It was like 30 minutes. And then y'all cussed me out. You know, you could have gave us a video that was longer than 30 minutes. I'm like, dang, the last video y'all said was too long. Like, make up your mind. Cuss me out. Fry me up. You could have gave us more than that. I got like 30 Instagram messages getting cussed out that night. I was like, dang. Well, all right. All right. We're going to wind down here. Oh, do you like It's All About You by SUV? Taj was a great lead. I do love that song. Actually, all of their albums are good. Every last one, even the new albums. I think the I Missed Us album was really, really good. People should check that one out. That's the one that has Cosign on it. That was a great album. I think if they had a stronger team behind them and the industry wasn't so ageist, they would have definitely been a little bit more successful with that project. All right. We want a national tour from you. Ain't nobody going. I'll do a show and there'll be 8 people in the audience. Y'all gonna have my feelings hurt. Who's the next So What Happened? It's Janet Jackson. I had to go right by Janet because y'all kept asking for her. So I was like, let me go ahead and do her. And then after Janet is Toni Braxton. And then I had to pick who's next. But the Janet one is only the Demita Joe project. I was trying to do Demita Joe through Discipline. I was like, this is too much because there's too many details. She got too much going on. So I was like, let me just stick to Demita Joe because I was looking at like, look, I got my notes. Where's my notes? Hold on, I got my notes for Demita Joe right here. So when I do these So What Happened videos, I normally have a page of notes, and these are all topics, not the actual notes, but topics of what I'm supposed to talk about. All right, and it's like page 1, and then it's front and back. Then the next one, and the next one. That's 4, 5, 6, 7 pages of just topics, not even the actual subject where we go into detail, but just things I need to cover. So that crap be taking all day. Man. No, these aren't locks. These are curls. I'm about to start plaiting it back soon. I just need to be free for a little bit. All right, we're about to wind down because I need to go to bed. I said that like 30 times and I'd be lying, and then we'll still be here till midnight. Let's see. Tina Turner was good though. Yeah, I like Tina Turner. Tina be getting it. I'm kind of mad I never saw her live. I keep watching. I like her performance of Better Be Good to Me from I think it's the 24/7 tour from 2000. you know, I listen to rock on occasion, but Tina tore that little stage up. And she had Lisa Fisher and Stacey Campbell as her background vocalists. That was a dope little show. Tina was like 60 at the time, getting it in on that stage. I mean, it was just going and rocking. I'd just be in there jamming. I rock with Tina. Give her flowers while she's still here, folks. She don't be claiming us like that, to be honest, though. I ain't gonna lie. Who's my dream versus? I'm about sick of versus too, to be honest. I don't know if I have a dream versus, because most of the people that I would have wanted to see were on there. Maybe if some of the people who aren't living, I guess if Michael and Prince were alive, that would have been a cool one. But that would have also been very awkward because Prince was gonna be Prince and Michael was gonna be Michael. But that would have been really fun. I don't know if I have a dream versus. I think I've seen a lot of the people I would have wanted to see. TLC, I think, will have a fun one just because they'll be funny to watch. But they should have gone with. I would have had them go with SWV, I guess. I think I said this in one of the videos. I was like, they should have did like a 4-way with SWV, Escape, TLC, and SWV, Escape, In Vogue, TLC. Those 4. Like, that would have been a cool one. I guess they can go with Destiny's Child, but I think that's such a generational little mix up here. But I don't know. All right. Somebody said Calvin always be talking about frying people up. These are my substitute words, so I don't cuss. All right, I told you this has been a process. If you hear me in my car, you wouldn't even recognize me. I'd be saying all the hard words, all the hard F's, everything. I'd be nasty in the car. So I'm trying to do better. So this is like great practice plus working with kids. So I'm never in an environment where I can really just let it out. So sometimes it just all needs to come out. So that's what the car is for. Because I can't cuss around the kids. I don't cuss in front of my mother. I don't cuss with my little men's group. I have a men's group I meet with every Thursday. And then I don't really use profanity on this either. So, all right, we're winding down. Mariah versus Janet would be cool, but they have such a weird, they're so different. They're very, I think what they have in common is that they're both very, very, very successful. And they both have been able to successfully blend the worlds of pop and R&B and also hip hop, you know? All right, can I go to bed, guys? I got them children to be with tomorrow. And now that it's raining, we're definitely not going anywhere tomorrow. So they're going to have attitudes. We're going to have to be indoors. Oh, no, it's not going to rain tomorrow. Okay, cool. It's just going to be wet outside. So which means we still ain't going to be in the grass. All right. Oh, see, Patreon could be cut. Yeah, I could cut up on Patreon. Y'all going to pay to hear me cuss. All right. All right, guys, I'm going to bed. This was cool. So, again, like I said, I'm going to pray this ain't chaotic because y'all be making me nervous sometimes. So we're going to try June 24th as our Zoom party. All right. Don't come on there acting crazy because I will go to bed real quick. All right. So I will send a link to that in the announcement in a few days. Any videos this, I don't know if you're getting another video this, yeah, it's only Monday. I should have another one before the week is over. There's another podcast episode that comes out next week. The podcast. So those who have been following it, I was telling a little 7th grade story. Next one is going to be about 8th grade. And then I'll also post an actual throwback one on the channel. I think the next one I'm posting is the church choir one. All right. Anyway, let's go to bed. You guys be safe. This was cool. Until next time, I'm out. Good night.